national story this hour from ABC News. Hurricane Idalia continues to cause problems for parts of Florida.
Earlier this morning, we had a break from the rain, but really what we've seen overnight since about midnight here in Gainesville is a steady amount of heavy rain. And it comes, with the bands coming. Basically, I'm calling this kind of a hip check.
The storm reached Category 4 status early this morning. It's currently a Category 2 hurricane as it moves toward Georgia. A fire broke out at a gun range in Murray yesterday. The Murray City Fire Chief says the rubber material that catches bullets at the end of the 100-yard range caught fire. Investigators say they think a spark from a bullet started the fire. Officials say nobody was injured and no other buildings were threatened. The building was not very badly damaged from the fire and is still operating. Your money at this moment, the Dow right now up 31 points. That's about 0.1%. We're at 34,884. Coming up, we've got some rain in the forecast this weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Needing a mortgage? Press 1 if you're purchasing a home. Press 2 if this home is a refinance. Press 3 if you need cash back. Your wait time is 20.
Need a great way to begin a home mortgage loan? Pressing buttons hoping that you'll end up with an actual experienced loan officer is not a smart way to start. Often it brings higher rates, higher costs, and long closing times. On the other hand, you can call Loans by Rick and speak directly to Rick, a mortgage lender that has closed thousands of loans since 2002. Rick will pick up your call every time. You only talk to Rick, not option 1, 2, or 3. Closing is fast in 12 to 22 days from submission to clear to close, with low rates and low closing costs. Call Loans by Rick at 801-809-SAVE. That's 801-809-SAVE. Or click loansbyrick.com. Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders.
It's me again, and of course, I'm at the annual Fall Extravaganza at J&J Garden Center in Layton. And what a great time to buy. Right now, all containerized trees, all shrubs, and all perennials are 20% off. You heard me right. J&J's entire inventory of containerized trees, shrubs, and perennials are 20% off their regular price. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price and most definitely the best service too. But don't take my word for it. Come experience J&J Garden Center for yourself. Take advantage of their incredible fall tree, shrub, and perennial extravaganza. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa?
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Congressman Chris Stewart, and I'm endorsing Celeste Malloy for Congress. It's been my great privilege to represent you, and I've tried to do so with honor. But I made the decision to step down in the best interest of my family. Now, in the best interest of Utah, I'm asking you to join me in supporting Celeste Malloy for Congress. She's the only conservative in the race that I trust. She's proven, she's tough, and she will fight for you. I couldn't be more proud to stand by her side.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress. Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. And here's Andy Farnsworth.
Slowdowns on I-15 still a little bit in place right around Bankett or Highway Draper for northbounders, and then some stop and go right before you cross 215 in Midvale. Traffic's still kind of heavy in the main flow lanes right before the 6 South exit in downtown Salt Lake City. Davis County Freeway delays have cleared. Utah County Freeway delays have cleared, but 2100 North Lehigh is still pretty slow crossing from Redwood over to I-15. Time to replace your roof? Intermountain West Contractors can finish most roofs in one day. Use Radio 1000 and get $1,000 off a roof replacement now. IWCroofing.com. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now hazy today and tomorrow thanks to some large wildfires in Washington and Oregon. Today's high 87, back up to 94 tomorrow. The thunderstorms move in on Friday and stay here for the weekend. Right now it's 70 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We are watching in studio here live coverage of what is going on in Florida. CNN has it's Fox News has a camera fixated on a reporter in Clearwater. And just moments ago, Dave, I think you were looking down at your computer. It was a video of another reporter who was knee-deep water. Maybe that's being generous. It might have been even higher than that, and having a hard time standing up, and such strong winds that are whipping around there.
Yeah, but it's not just the winds they're concerned about. It's the storm surge and the flooding that they expect to stretch 200 miles. That's Provo to Cedar City. That's what kind of flooding they're looking at from the storm surge. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
We also have another story developing locally that we're going to be looking into in about 30 minutes. It's a second E. coli outbreak. If you're having a hard time keeping all of these straight, this one is in Cache County up north. But health officials are releasing, well, I want to say basically no information on how 6 people there got sick from E. coli. Is it from the sprinkler water? Like what's happening in Lehigh, where we know 6 children wound up in the hospital? Because in that case, in Lehigh, it's the city's outdoor sprinkler system that folks use to water their lawns with. It was contaminated with a particular strain of E. coli that the Utah Health Department, the epidemiologist, told us yesterday on the show, that strain is especially harsh on children.
There's a couple things. I think with this outbreak in particular, it's mostly the kids who are, out playing in the sprinklers or in the slip and slides, and they can get it in their mouths really easily. That may be one reason. And then another reason, too, is just that this particular strain is more dangerous for kids. Kids are more likely to have some of those kidney problems from it, and so we tend to hear about them.
Those were the things happening in Lehigh. This is Cache County, and we don't have information on where that E. coli is coming from in Cache County. Is it the water? Is it the food? A health official from that area will be calling the show, and we'll ask them that.
Countdown to...
Dave, you just had a conversation, it was about an hour ago, with a member of Utah's Task Force 1. These are the amazing folks who run in to hurricane situation where others are trying to get out of the area. You spoke to Jen Bevan. She is on Task Force 1 out of Utah, arriving in Orlando last night. And now she's sitting, it sounds like, waiting for orders to start rescue efforts.
So this is actually like a record-breaking tropical cyclone because it's hitting the northeast of the Gulf, and it's the strongest ever the first ever in that area.
She's in Orlando, and she is not seeing the real terrifying moments right now. But Task Force 1, she said, they have to wait till the storm passes. The worst of the storm passes, then they will go out and start the rescues.
Launch countdown 1.
Well, hopefully it's not long, and hopefully there are not many people who need to be rescued. Fingers crossed. But Hurricane Idalia hit land in Florida this morning. Wind speeds hitting 125 miles an hour. listen to what this reporter was saying on live television as it was making landfall.
Right now in Live Oak, things are definitely picking up. The wind is gusting everywhere. We are seeing where the McDonald's sign is coming apart as we speak, and also power lines are also moving around. Trees are brushing by. Debris is flying in the air. It is a lot going on, guys. The hotel lights have officially gone out, and we're just seeing a whole bunch of wind rushing around and moving everything.
And that's the winds. Now they're going to be dealing with the storm surge and the massive flooding, perhaps 10 to 12 feet of storm surge.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Look at that. Is that a street we're looking at? The storm surge. CNN's reporting setting records in multiple Florida locations. Is that a parking lot? Is that a street? It's just covered with water, and that water is running as though it's a river, Dave.
Yeah, it's incredible. When we watch these live videos and people are just standing out there reporting on them, we've seen this site for years, but it is extensive, it is massive, and it is ubiquitous.
Let's go live right now to CNN.
In Crystal River, anyone that is familiar with this place knows where this is because the Best Western is here. It's very easy to find. And the reason why they know where it is because this is where you go, one of the many places you go to see manatees. This is a place where a lot of tourists come to see Florida's treasure, those beautiful, what they call sea
There's water
cows.
everywhere
And I've
as we're
done it.
watching
I did
this
this as
live
a kid,
feed
and I
on
did this as an
CNN.
adult. Going and swimming with the manatees and going to see the crystalline, beautiful water as it comes out of the earth.
I think it's hard for our listeners to actually feel the impact of that, but there is water everywhere. Dave, let's dip into at WFLA in Tampa Bay right now and see what their coverage is all about.
And the storm surge is setting records right now, Debbie. Could be as high as 16 feet, I'm seeing by reports.
These waters are receding just about a foot, but you can see this long portion of road just completely inundated with water. Now, those bright yellow specks back there, that's actually a rescue crew. They're going up and down these streets trying to find anyone that needs to make it out of their homes. That's what we've been doing as well. We're on an ATV vehicle with a Good Samaritan who says he just wants to make sure everyone is safe because the consensus that I've gotten from families in this area is that they did not plan for this type of flooding. They say it is much, much worse, and it happened very quickly. I can't for them when they say that. It was 6 o'clock, and there was no flooding. All of a sudden, the water starts rising.
Let's go back to CNN real quickly because they've got the director of the National Hurricane Center on live right now.
Historically, of just how significant, how different this is for parts of the west coast of Florida. This ain't normal, is it?
Well, this is a hurricane landfall that we haven't really seen in portions of this sort of Big Bend coast of Florida, where we've seen Idalia come on shore this morning. Certainly at major hurricane intensity, bringing significant storm surge impacts. We expected to see 10 to maybe 15 or even 16 feet of inundation above ground level here in the Big Bend region. And then with the fast motion of the storm, it's bringing those hurricane force winds inland, far inland into Georgia, and then now expected to reach coastal South Carolina and Georgia overnight or late tonight or late this evening and into tonight.
Yeah, it's huge, Dave. I mean, look at the graphic there. It's going to get into Georgia, maybe South Carolina. It hit land at 125 miles an hour. I don't know if it's slowing down at all. It says wind gusts right now in the Jacksonville area are 43 miles an hour. But the water, there's so much water. And you talked earlier about the magnitude of the storm surge. Remind us what you found out.
So the storm surge initially was expected to be maybe 5-6 feet, and then over the last 24 hours, 36 hours, it has increased. And I just heard again from the hurricane specialist that they could see as much as 16 feet in storm surge.
Next, let's go back to Florida, where a member of Utah's Task Force 1, well, others are trying to rush away from the area and evacuate, of course, because that is what has been ordered by the governor. Members of task force teams from all over the nation run in just in case, fingers crossed this doesn't need to happen, people need to be rescued.
So this is actually like a record-breaking tropical cyclone because it's hitting the northeast.
More
of the
from
Gulf,
Utah's
and it's
Task
the
Force 1
strongest ever
next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
Next Tuesday,
There's still time for people to get their ballots turned in.
Republicans make their choice.
It's hard to compare this election to ones of the past.
Reporter Lindsay Aerts will cover every twist and turn in our countdown to the 2nd District primary. It's the race to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. All this week on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors to tell you about our 10-year everything guarantee. Most contractors spout off having great warranties that last forever. But those warranties are always, and I do mean always, riddled with loopholes, exception, fine print, and nonsense. At RGS Exteriors, we cover everything. Parts, labor, material, everything and anything for 10 full years. There's no cost to you whatsoever. No hoops to jump through, no exceptions. Yes, the products we sell, like James Hardy siding, our windows, gutter covers, come with a 25 to 50-year manufacturer's warranty, just like everybody else. But the truth is, the products almost never fail. It's always the labor and material which is never covered, so you're stuck paying for service calls. For peace of mind, call RGS Exteriors. You'll sleep easy for 10 full years. 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online rgsutah.com. Gutters, siding, windows, and all exteriors with the 10-year everything guarantee.
In a swampy D.C. move, Celeste Malloy is attacking Bruce Huff. Here's the truth. Bruce has lived, paid taxes, and voted in Utah for 45 years. He raised 10 children here. He's the only candidate in this race that voted for and donated to Trump in 2020. Celeste wants to divert attention from the fact that she lives 2,100 miles away in Virginia. Celeste spent her entire career working for the government and has been part of the D.C. swamp for years. She didn't vote for Trump in 2020. In fact, she hasn't even voted in 4 of the last 6 elections. And 75% of Celeste's campaign donations come from lobbyists and those living outside of Utah. Celeste is part of the swamp. Utah deserves a real conservative and someone who actually lives in Utah. Paid for by To Form a More Perfect Union, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Warmer weather is here, and Skinny Utah would like to help you shape up for summer by losing 20 pounds in the next 40 days. That's right, 20 pounds in as little as 40 days. That's the Skinny Utah promise. Skinny Utah will customize every plan because no 2 bodies are alike. Their proven program is 100% natural. There are never any prepackaged meals or shakes to buy, and they never use dangerous drugs or hormones. Skinny Utah will teach you how to eat real food you buy at the store. Take the first step to a healthier new you and schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com. A $300 value, absolutely free. Skinny Utah has offices in Draper, Orem, Centerville, and St. George, and they're extending their couple special, where the second person is half price. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session today at skinnyutah.com. That's skinnyutah.com. At Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Hurricane Idalia continues to impact Florida and now parts of Georgia. Several coastal areas could see storm surge until later this afternoon. Second, UDOT says they'll be stopping construction projects during the holiday weekend, but people should still be prepared to see big delays. And third, FEMA could be giving over $1 million to Weber County to repair damages left behind by spring flooding. Right now it's 70 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Well, we know in talking to Kevin Eubank, KSL meteorologist yesterday, who, by the way, is joining the show again regarding what he knows now about Hurricane Idalia. He'll be joining us in about 40 minutes. That the storm water, the surge, is the number one killer. It's what kind of comes back, I think, takes people by surprise. They haven't gotten out of the area. They haven't evacuated. And Dave, you had an analogy just moments ago. It's just like, wow, I didn't know it was that bad.
Our studio is roughly 8 feet tall. The storm surge is expected to be double that. So not only would it completely and totally bury us here in the studio, it would do so one time over. It would be double what we are in right now. It gives you an idea of how devastating that would be. Can you imagine 16 feet of water coming from the ground and washing over our area?
Can we go back to WFLA? Because just moments ago, to your point, Dave, we were watching storm waters everywhere. I mean, and you pointed out on the video that we were watching, I'm sorry, we're going to go to WTXL right now, our producer says. Let's listen. That's a station in Tallahassee we're listening to. Let's go to CNN. Did you, Dave? Is that a gas station that just toppled? Did you see? Are you looking at that video?
Yeah, I see a roof ripped off.
Part of Florida that often does not see hurricanes of this magnitude, and the process of intensification is something we need to highlight, because it was just yesterday morning that this was a tropical storm. It became a hurricane, Category 2, Category 3, even Category 4.
It is a gas
before
station.
Ultimately weakening a bit as it made landfall in Florida. Now it remains a Category 1, but even as it leaves Florida, the danger still lurks.
It was that
Absolutely. And
canopy
just to put a
that
button on it, I mean,
typically
the last
is
time
over
covers the pumps.
The pumps, and it had toppled.
Well, the anchors are acting like they don't even see it, but we're watching video as they're talking about the wind speed. And Dave and I watched video on CNN as that massive canopy, it looked like, I don't know for sure if it was a chevron, but it was a blue canopy structure, just slowly blew over the entire thing, which worries me about gas pumps, being ripped apart.
Yeah, gas, electricity, the kind of things we don't even think about from day to day are being damaged.
I want to talk about Utah Task Force 1 right now. They sent one member, from what we understand, one member is there so far. And what Utah Task Force 1 does is it's, made up of many members. They have this expertise on, emergency, natural disasters, emergency situations, where they can send trained folks over to areas that are going to need help. So you spoke just a few moments ago, well, maybe it's been an hour now, to Jen Bevan, who landed in Orlando yesterday. What was your takeaway from that phone call you had with her, Dave?
Well, first of all, when and what their role is. And they don't just roll in there and start helping. They are working closely with Florida. They are just one of the many tools that Florida is using to react to this storm.
So they wait, right? Task force members from other states wait, and they work in conjunction with the directions that they get from officials in Florida. They don't just go in and do their thing.
Yeah, obviously they have to wait for the storm to pass, or at least the worst parts of the storm to pass, because it's just too dangerous to take boats out and start rescuing. They have to wait for the worst of it to go by.
Here's part of your conversation with Utah Task Force member Jen Bevan.
Because we don't want to put anyone else in harm's way, and so we have the team stage in the areas that we know are going to be hit, and then once the weather passes through, the concerns are obviously, the storm surges that will come through afterwards. And so as soon as the winds get past and the eye of the storm gets through, then we start sending the teams out to do their work.
They also travel around with what she described as kits. Now, these kits are prepackaged that it can be deployed. They have boats. They have life jackets.
Wow.
They have all sorts of things that are ready to go, and they will travel with those. But again, once those arrive on location, that is the staging area. And then once they get told where to go, where to search, where to rescue folks, that's when they start deploying.
Not everybody leaves. I mean, I would be like first one out. You know, I would pack up the car. I'd be gone.
Oh, right.
You know, I would not be around. But not everybody leaves. And for sure, there's going to be damage and potentially lots of people to rescue, depending on what the circumstances end up being. But just listen to, here's one reporter this morning, what she saw happen. Now, we just watched that gas station topple over, but here's what this reporter saw.
Right now in Live Oak, things are definitely picking up. The wind is gusting everywhere. We are seeing where the McDonald's sign is coming apart as we speak, and also power lines are also moving around. Trees are brushing by. Debris.
300,000 people thus far, according to Fox News, without power this morning in Florida as Hurricane Idalia hit landfall at wind speeds of 125 miles an hour from our reports. But we also have KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank calling the show in just a little bit to give us what he's seeing on all the weather computers. One of the things we've talked about at length is with hurricanes come damage, and with damage comes, homes being leveled and flooded out. And a lot of homeowners in Florida are finding themselves without homeowners insurance because in the last year and a half, 12 companies have pulled out of Florida.
And part of what has been so difficult about this is, in this hurricane specifically, is it's hitting areas of Florida that have never really been hit by hurricanes.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you could have gone decades and decades, generations even, without being touched by a hurricane. So you might think you were protected. You may not think you need hurricane insurance. But this is the danger of the hurricane. It can always change its path, and communities that have never been hit before can be devastated.
We've reported so much on the insurance companies that have left Florida that I started doing some research to find out what the governor's office and the insurance commissioner have been doing to help residents there get insured. Can you imagine that? I mean, I don't know how much a home costs in Florida. I just feel like it's all things expensive. You look at those homes, you're like, it's got to be more than it costs to live here, and it costs a bundle to live in Salt Lake City. I can imagine not being able to sleep at night if you didn't have homeowners insurance on what a lot of people consider their biggest, most important investment. Like, how would you ever afford to rebuild a $700,000 home that you got lost in hurricane winds or flooding? You couldn't. You just couldn't. Most people could not. You'd be devastated. The commissioner of insurance there in Florida says they've secured 4 companies that have said, yeah, we will provide homeowners insurance to folks who are going without there. And they're working on getting more companies in. And this one company, I don't remember the name of it, said we look at Florida as a good investment for our insurance company. So we'll see how that shakes out. But
in part, though, because they're coming in, they realize that there is a danger, and it may be a quote-unquote good investment. Homeowners insurance has increased 42% in the last year to nearly $6,000 a year. That's $500 a month additional.
Yeah, and I was reading up on this. In one case, another company wanted to raise rates an additional 12%. And they have to go through like a board with the insurance commission at the state, and the insurance commission said, oh, no, you're not going to do that. They pushed back. They vetoed that 12% increase. But that insurance company said, well, we'll come back at you with another proposal. At $500 a month to insure your home. It's just astronomical. It's incredible what is going on in Florida. And I know there's been a lot of calls for the governor to do more, but it does sound like they are doing more. They're trying to bring in more companies. But for now, I think there's probably a lot of homeowners on pins and needles from what we're seeing in Florida. In fact, let's head to break, guys, with listening to CNN. If we can pull that up in the control room. They're out there live.
We continue to watch,
in Tampa.
Hurricane Idalia as it makes its way across Florida and into South Georgia.
Yeah, we have a live look at Tybee Island, Georgia. There, a lot of rain headed that way, a lot of wind activity, tornadic activity as well. The latest on this dangerous storm when we come back.
9:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, 3 members of the Utah Red Cross are in Florida, ready to help those affected by Hurricane Idalia. Red Cross Greater Salt Lake Executive Director Jeremiah Lafraca tells KSL TV they sent them in ahead of landfall to make sure shelters are ready to go.
We try to make sure that we have strike teams available and in place ahead of time. We usually try to get them at least a few days in advance so we can get those shelters ready, get everything prepped. So that way when it does hit, we are ready for people to get there rather than waiting after the fact and then people don't know what to do when the disaster strikes.
More volunteers from Utah could join after the storm has passed to make sure locals have the help they need. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. People on the Gulf Coast of Florida hunkering down now as the hurricane pummels cities near the ocean.
Landfall came at 7:45 a.m. at Keaton Beach in the Big Bend region of Florida. The maximum sustained winds were 125 miles per hour, making this a high-end Category 3 hurricane. And it's not expected to lose much power as it continues to move through the Panhandle and into Georgia. Once the wind and rain die down, crews will head into the landfall zone to look for any storm victims. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Tampa.
Utah native Tony Finau is still fighting multiple lawsuits in court that are seeking to get 20% each of his pro golf fortune. The Deseret News reports the Utah Court of Appeals just heard arguments in a suit that was dismissed in 2021. Another lawsuit claims the plaintiff financially backed Finau and his brother when they were teenagers. According to PGA data, Finau has earned about $37 million in his career, but likely much more with endorsements. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 37 points. That's 0.1%. We're at 34,890. And coming up, we have rain in store for the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33. Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Deb, have you ever had an experience when you're getting some work done at your house and the contractor, the subcontractor comes in, they give you a bid, and then what you actually pay, they have nothing to do with each other? The bid is way lower than what you're actually paying.
Puts a pit in your stomach. That does not happen when you call Master Electrical because they have what's called upfront pricing. I absolutely love this concept of upfront pricing because the bid you get when they walk through the door and look at your project that you need to have done is the price you pay. In fact, they told us when we met with them, their software does not even allow them to go in and change the bid prices. Upfront pricing, it is totally the way to go.
And if their bidder made a mistake and came under, they just eat that cost.
Master Electrical does everything from can lighting in your homes. You can get them to install an EV charger in your garage. They do smoke detectors, ceiling fans. If it is electrical, it is Master Electrical.
It's all part of their upfront pricing guarantee. They serve all sorts of communities in Utah 24 hours a day. So if you have an emergency, you can give them a call. 866-569-0860. That's 866-569-0860. Or you can check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
When making important life decisions about your financial future or insurance needs, it's important to work with people you trust. That's why at Farm Bureau Financial Services, we don't rely on algorithms, bots, or auto-generated answers. We get to know you so we can help you get the right coverage and make smart financial decisions. We're the people who provide insurance and financial planning all in one place. Find a Farm Bureau agent or advisor at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. And here's Heather Kelly.
No delays right now across the Wasatch Front. We've got good speeds northbound and southbound from Payson all the way up into Logan area. And no problems on the east or west side belt routes as you make your way around the Salt Lake Valley. With over 30 plus specialties in multiple locations across Utah, Revere has you covered for all your health needs. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner for life. Online at reverehealth.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, today's high 87 degrees with lots of sun. Tonight's overnight low will drop down to 63. Then tomorrow we're up to 94 before a cold front and some thunder showers bring our temps into the mid-80s. Right now it's 73 at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Our top local story this morning is we have another E. coli outbreak. This one
Another one?
Yeah. I know. Right?
Because we've been talking about Lehigh.
Right. The one in Utah County. We've done a lot of in-depth coverage on the one in Lehigh that is E. coli is coming through the secondary irrigation, the secondary water system, which is used to water lawns and gardens in Lehigh. We know that in Lehigh, 6 kids have landed in the hospital because of the exposure to that strain of E. coli in Lehigh. But let's fly up to Cache County, right? That's where, like, is Logan.
Yeah.
That's the city I know. Like Cache County. 140,000 residents there. Health department not saying in that case where these 6 cases that have been reported of E. coli are coming from.
Part of what frustrates me when the health department sends this kind of stuff out is it's just not enough information. Okay, it's great to know that there's an outbreak, but where is it coming from? Is it coming from my food? Is it coming from my water? Is it secondary water or is it culinary water? I would like a little direction here, folks.
Well, in a moment, we're going to speak to the Bear River Health Department, a representative from the health department in just a moment, because in Lehigh, we were able to get information. Again, going back to Lehigh, we were able to get information that the 12 cases that were reported, and of course, I said 6 kids ended up in the hospital in that situation in Lehigh. We know that E. coli is coming from the sprinkler system, the water that folks are using, not the inside water. That's culinary water. This is secondary water in Lehigh. That kids are, they're playing in the sprinklers. They're maybe drinking from the hose. Parents are filling up the little kiddie pools with water from the outdoor sprinkler system, and the kids are getting exposed that way. And when we spoke to the Utah Department of Health and the state epidemiologist about Lehigh, she said that strain of E. coli there it can really affect kids, that particular strain.
There's a couple things. I think with this outbreak in particular, it's mostly the kids who are, out playing in the sprinklers or in the slip and slides, and they can get it in their mouths really easily. That may be one reason. And then another reason too is just that this particular strain is more dangerous for kids. Kids are more likely to have some of those kidney problems from it, and so we tend to hear about them.
So that's, again, just to be very clear, there's an E. coli outbreak in Lehigh and also in Cache County and Bear River, or not Bear River. But joining us from the Bear River Health Department is Esty Hunt. Esty, thank you. What do we know? Can you fill in some of the gaps here? Because again, we've focused so much on the secondary water E. coli problem in Utah County. What's going on up north?
Yeah. Hi, Dave. It's good to be on here. I just wanted to let you know, first of all, we totally understand why it is frustrating that we can't get you all this information right up front. The deal with working with an investigation like this is we have very few cases right now, and we don't yet know where the source is. So for us to go ahead and say it's one thing or another, we're unable to do that because we don't even have that source identified yet. We have to work through some things in order to figure out what that source is. And that's why we can't provide you with anything at this point.
Well, I'm wondering if the press release that you'd sent out can provide our listeners with some sort of a clue, our listeners up in the Cache Valley area, because I didn't see anything in the press release, maybe I missed it, Esty, that suggested, don't let your kids run through outdoor sprinkler water. Your press release says wash hands thoroughly, cook meat thoroughly to kill harmful bacteria. It says avoid consuming raw milk and undercooked meat. Wash your, garden fruits and vegetables before consuming. It doesn't say boil them like what they're suggesting in Lehigh. So are we to assume from that, and I don't like to assume, but assume from that it's not the outdoor water system that's causing the problem there?
I think citizens and community members can be pretty confident that it's not coming from drinking water. We do know that it isn't coming from drinking water at this point. Those precautions that we are giving out are general precautions for E. coli prevention.
I see.
So at this point, because we don't have a source, we can say this is general guidance to prevent E. coli infection.
So those were just best practices in general.
Best practices, definitely. Yep. I think, for all of us, as we found out with Lehigh, many of us go out to the garden at this time of year and pick a fruit or a vegetable, and we just rub it on our shirt and we eat it. But if we're using irrigation water, it's always a good idea. And I'm to be included. I often just go ahead and
taste
cut
test
into that melon without washing it.
Right.
You know
I'm
what I mean?
super guilty.
We need to really be. We really need to be thoughtful of that. This is the time of year that we do see E. coli infections. This isn't a new occurrence. This happens every year at this time of year.
So is the hope with this kind of announcement that if people are feeling sick, are you recommending that they go to their doctor, get tested for E. coli to help with the investigation?
Yeah. At this point, our biggest message is to the public, if you're experiencing diarrhea, which may be bloody, if you're having abdominal cramps and pain, nausea and vomiting or fever, to definitely get in touch with a medical provider.
Esty,
that's who's going to be able to test you for that and identify whether it is E. coli. Because we have very few cases right now, and so with our few cases, we can't and some of them are a cluster, but we do have a couple outliers. So we can't go ahead and just, with the information we have, we cannot say what the source is. So where our hope is that this will just kind of diminish and go away. But if we start to see an increase, then we know we need to figure out more. So we're working to identify that.
Esty Hunt was with the Bear River Health Department on the line live with us because we're talking about a second E. coli outbreak. This one is in Cache County, and they don't know the source, or they're not telling us what the source is, but you said you don't know the source yet. So
yeah, we do know.
So there's 140,000 residents. I'm assuming that's kind of close to how many residents live in the Cache County area. Esty, is there an area that is of more concern, or are you just warning everybody?
Well, we're warning everybody at this point because we do have a few that are a small cluster. I mean, we're talking very small cluster. So if you're talking 140,000 people, we only are reporting 6 confirmed cases. So we aren't limiting it to one small area at this point because to protect patient information, it's imperative that we kind of don't do that at this point. I mean, if we get a bigger count and cases, then we will need to, but at this point, it's not necessary.
Esty Hunt, thank you for giving us the information that you have. Bear River Health Department.
Thanks, Esty. I'm sure our team of reporters and producers will be in touch with you throughout the day today and the days ahead. And as soon as you have more information that we can pass along to our listeners, please let us know, because I know families want to make sure they're making good decisions for their family members. Next, it is the kiss that is causing tons of controversy in Spain and even beyond. But is it tradition, or I want to know, tradition, or what about permission? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Martin's Collision Repair. 50,000 cars repaired and counting. Just check Martin's 5-star online reviews.
CO posted, everyone was very kind and professional. The repair looks great. You must take great pride in your work.
Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Check Martin's Facebook page or martinscollision.com for your 5-star Martins experience. On State Street in Norham and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies. The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martin's Collision Repair.
Here's Jay Carwood of Harwood Farm.
I'm Jay Carwood, and I grow corn. We all love your terrific locally grown corn, Jake, especially because there are so many ways to cook, prepare, and enjoy it.
Right. You can boil it, grill it, wrap it in foil, and toss it in the campfire. You can make sweet corn salsa, Mexican sweet corn casserole, scrambled eggs with sweet corn and tomatoes, and hundreds of other ways. We've even published our own From Harvest to Hand cookbook.
Click online to harwardfarms.com for a list of locations.
Fresh from our family's farm to your family's dinner table.
Harward Farms.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. It's the time of year, the end of summer. Labor Day is right here, and it's time to save even more money at NPS. We like to think of the NPS stores as nice places to shop. There are 4 locations with incredible deals, and right now, even above and beyond the 30 to 70% off that you'll find each and every day, you're going to find great deals on kitchen supplies, an additional 25% off. Some summer items up to 30% off. Makeup and nail care, 30% off. And over in the industrial area, you're going to find 70% off the faucets, doorknobs, door locks, humidifiers. It goes on and on. All of these great deals are waiting for you at NPS. Of course, there's a store in Utah County. We've got the Orem store. We've got Layton, and 2 right here in Salt Lake. It is a nice place to shop with incredible savings. It's NPS.
What's the biggest threat to your retirement savings today? Believe it or not, it's taxes. That's right, you could be paying a lot more taxes in retirement than you realize. Learn more in a free report, 3 retirement tax traps that could wipe out your savings. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. This free report reveals how you could avoid 3 retirement tax traps that could needlessly cost you tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. To get this free report, call 801-896-9622. Don't needlessly overpay your taxes in retirement. Get this free report now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622. Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Her name is Becky Edwards, and she's the common-sense conservative we need in Congress. A proven fiscal conservative, Becky Edwards is unafraid to stand up to communist China or the big spenders in Washington to end the inflation that's hurting Utah families. Becky Edwards will defend our freedoms and support term limits like she did here in Utah. Becky Edwards, ready to make Washington work the Utah way.
I'm Becky Edwards, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Becky Edwards for Congress.
Where does a journey to wellness begin? Do you start looking for diet ideas? Or searching for exercise plans? Actually, you don't have to look far. Just look to the first 2 letters of the word wellness. We means you don't have to figure it out yourself. It means your hopes and challenges are a perfect match for our knowledge and resources. It means anything you want to achieve, together, we can achieve better. Because wellness begins with we. Intermountain Health, the power of we.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, some members of the Utah Red Cross are in Florida ready to help people impacted by the hurricane. Second, Utah native Tony Finau is still fighting multiple lawsuits in court, seeking to get 20% each of his pro golf fortune. And third, officials are putting out a water advisory at the Calf Creek Campground in Grand Staircase Escalante because of unsafe levels of blue-green algae. Right now it's 73 in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you're following soccer, you know the U.S. women's soccer team dominated World Cup soccer for 4,403 days.
We were unstoppable, basically from 2011 on until this year.
But this year,
man, this year was brutal.
They didn't even finish in the top 3. I know people were outraged.
Sweden,
which opened up really an incredible run for the Spanish women's soccer team to win their first World Cup.
Yeah, and this is national celebration in Spain. This was incredible. One of the great moments in Spain's history. It's like Columbus found America and then World Cup victory. This is incredible news. But it has been tainted by scandal.
Yeah, so it was post-game celebration. You know, the players were lined up. And this was the moment for me. When the head of the Spanish Football Federation grabbed the cheeks of one of the female players and kissed her right on the lips during the celebration, like, mwah, right on the lips. Well, now Spanish prosecutors are investigating as a potential act of sexual assault. And people in Spain are up in arms over that kiss.
Years in prison. I mean, okay, I lived in Spain for a couple of years, and so I'm trying to piece together a little bit. As an American, I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's bad. But when I lived in Spain, kisses are a huge part of the culture. They're very affectionate, and, you know, it's a different culture that I experienced. I remember I was a missionary when I lived there, and we weren't allowed to give the little cheek-to-cheek kiss that is absolutely common in Spain. And when I stuck my hand out to shake an abuela's, a grandmother's hand, she's like, you Americans think every kiss is sexual. She pulls me in and gives me kisses on the cheek. So I wanted to know, okay, is this just part of the culture, or was this crossing a line?
Carlos, you're our producer, and you grew up in Spain, right?
Yeah, born and raised there, and then I think moved to Utah when I was 15.
But you've gone back several times.
Oh, yeah.
And when you disappear from the newsroom, we all know where you're at.
Yes.
You're in Spain. So we couldn't think of anybody better to walk us through this. And I look at that kiss, and it just, he kisses her right on the lips.
Yeah.
It's not a French kiss. I mean, it's not a passionate kiss, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it matters, but
it
certainly is not that.
So is this tradition, or does he need permission?
Oh, you need permission on the lips. I think David's right. In Spain, you know, our social bubble, you know, it's a lot closer than in the U.S. We kiss everyone on the cheeks, your family, your friends. You know, when you're a kid and you meet your mom's friend, you're just going to give you a kiss on the cheeks.
So
that's normal.
Is this like a handshake, or
that's just the way we greet?
Okay,
yeah, that's just
a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah.
Just one kiss or two each cheek?
It depends on the region in Spain, to be honest, but it's usually two.
Okay,
yeah.
So is it like a peck on the cheek?
It's cheek to cheek, or maybe someone slip on the cheek. Yeah.
Okay.
It really depends.
But what about the lips?
The lips, that's a big no. You don't do the lips.
And everybody knows that.
Of course. Yeah, because lips does signify there's a boundary there, right? So, you do it to your wife, you could do it, maybe to your kids, but that's it. You don't do it to your friends, really. That's not how we greet each other. I don't think that, anyone in the world does that.
When you saw the kiss, what was your reaction?
Honestly, I mean, at first you don't know, because if you're really good friends, maybe that's just, you're euphoric, you just won. You don't know the relationship either. So, I don't think anyone saw anything at first. The player was asked, like minutes later on the locker room, like, wait, what's up with that kiss? And she did say at that moment, you know what? He grabbed me and kissed me. Like, what was I supposed to do? So then people already understood, okay, so that wasn't consensual. He just kind of did it. He had been problematic before in many other areas. So the ball kind of started rolling from there.
So explain who he is in the world of soccer and who she is in the world of soccer.
So he's Luis Rubiales. He's the president, kind of the head of the Spanish Federation for Soccer.
So a big name,
deal, big
name there.
A lot of power.
Okay. And she is.
And she's one of the top players for the Spanish team.
And they win, and then this kiss happens.
Yeah.
He pulls her in and kisses her
And
during
grabs
the
her,
celebration.
kind of grabs her by the face. You see it. I mean, she picked him up. You know, you're just celebrating, but then he grabs her by the face, kisses her, and that's just.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they're hugging, they're smiling, they're kind of rocking back and forth. This was,
which is normal. You know, you're just celebrating, you're happy. But I think the problem is you grab someone's head. You're talking to them, that's fine, and then you go for
What's been the reaction in Spain?
Oh, it's been very political. Like
So get into all the
It's
details.
what everyone's talking about, for better or for worse, because we should be talking about we just won.
Yeah.
Not that many teams, not that many countries have, they won the World Cup for both men and women, but unfortunately it has just taken over. Politically it's just been played with a lot if you're, from both political aisles. So he has been taking a big hit because at first he came out and said, I'm not gonna resign over this. You cannot, make me resign. The government has no power to make him, to force him to resign, and he had the power of the federation to kind of just stay there. FIFA came out because he was the vice president for UEFA. FIFA was very corrupt. They kicked him out of his position within FIFA, and now, there's so much political pressure. People are very upset about this, and I think that pressure is going to get him now because now all the clubs who kind of vote him in and can vote him out, I don't think he has the votes anymore. So he's either going to get kicked out or just forced to resign.
the players are refusing to play.
The players for the team, for the women's team
that just won the World Cup.
That just won. They're all out, and they said we're not going to join the team until he's out. And even they want the coach out too. So
and you said
they want the coach out as well.
Yeah, there's been some disputes. I think they're just taking everything. Now that we have the power, we just.
Now everybody's out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do we know what the coach said or did? Was there something that the coach said that sparked?
I don't think we know.
Okay, we don't know that part yet.
But
they want him gone, and now prosecutors there are looking at possible
open an investigation,
criminal charges
for kind of sexual assault, basically
for doing what he did.
Yeah.
And it was all caught on camera.
It was all caught on camera. Everyone saw it. I think the one piece was the player. Jenny, she kind of was stayed silent for a big part of it, and she came out later and saying how much pressure there was from the federation to say, just say everything was fine, and from the other side to say, speak out against it, and she's just feeling so much pressure, so she kind of stayed quiet, but now she has come out saying, it was not okay that he kissed me, and I don't feel okay about it.
And then now this guy's mom is on a hunger strike.
Yeah,
and she's locked herself in a church or something.
Yeah, his family has just been very vocal about it.
On his side.
On his side, saying this was nothing. They're overplaying it, and the mom went inside a church in south of Spain on a hunger strike because of the way his son is being treated. Which, you can take that.
Carlos,
a little bit around.
This is wild. What's going on? In Spain.
Yeah, everyone. This is what everyone's talking about.
You said it best. This should be a time of celebration.
Yeah.
Because this was a major victory for the women's team in Spain, and instead this is just all embroiled in controversy. And I saw a headline that says it really does go to. It speaks to like boundaries in Spain, and women's rights not to be, I guess, kissed on the lips if they don't want to be.
Yeah, and it kind of comes in with a political movement too in Spain right now on the way we treat women and the way we see everything. So I think just kind of everything came together.
I'll tell you, one of the things that kind of pops up in my brain trying to relate it back here to America is Tom Brady is kind of famous for giving kisses to lots of different people. He'd kiss his owner on the lips. He kisses his children, his wife, which is totally fine. But what was a little bit different is he does that to friends and teammates and is kind of known for that. And most of you probably didn't even know that.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, the ecosystem of the Great Salt Lake is getting better thanks to our wet winter. A wildlife biologist for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, Kyle Stone, says brine shrimp are doing especially well.
The adult brine shrimp are above average for the last 25 years.
And this is good news for the brine shrimp egg harvesting season next month. Great Salt Lake is the source for up to 50% of the world's brine shrimp egg industry. This weekend's the last hurrah of summer for many Utahns who will be hitting the roads and causing traffic jams. UDOT says I-15 could see delays 10 minutes or so in Davis County and Nephi, plus a 20-minute slowdown in Salt Lake County on Friday. The route to avoid come Monday, though, is US 6 westbound in Spanish Fork Canyon. That could see delays of an extra 40 minutes. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Hurricane Idalia hit the Florida Gulf Coast early this morning, bringing major wind, rain, and coastal flooding. ABC's Maria Villarreal is in Gainesville. More inland from where Idalia made landfall, says the worst flooding might be on the way.
Earlier this morning, we had a break from the rain, but really what we've seen overnight since about midnight here in Gainesville is a steady amount of heavy rain. And it comes, with the bands coming. Basically, I'm calling this kind of a hip check.
The estimate of households with power out now is up to 264,000. Utility crews have come from across the country to help get the lights back on. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, but just 39 points. And the NASDAQ is up 77 points right now. And it looks like we'll be seeing storms move in, but that's not till later in the week. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Remember that first paycheck when you started working all those years ago? You looked at the net amount and thought, whoa, what happened here? The joy of taxes. It could be this way with your retirement accounts. You know how much you've saved, but if you haven't planned for Uncle Sam, you could come up short in retirement. With tax laws constantly changing, there's a lot you need to know to make sure you're not paying more than your fair share. Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth Advisors can help you create a plan that shows you how taxes could affect you now and in the future. Set up your tax strategy session with Mike Stevens and Capital Wealth Advisors now. Call 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. Make sure you know how these changes could affect you so you can avoid some of those whoa moments in retirement. Call 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
I'm Ty Burrell, actor and small business owner. I'm going to show you my steps for making the perfect radio ad. This one's about innovation refunds and the ERC. First step, be relatable. I like pizza and puppies. 2, cold hard info. The ERC is a tax credit for eligible businesses that kept employees on payroll in 2020 and 2021. So if you qualify, Innovation Refunds Network of Independent Tax Attorneys could help you claim it. 3, go to innovationrefunds.com or call 1-843-REFUNDS.
Innovation Refunds does not provide tax or legal advice. We work with an independent network of tax professionals. Terms and conditions apply. Ty is a paid spokesman.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hey guys, are you over 30? Let's talk about testosterone and performance. Your testosterone can decline at an average of 1 to 2% a year after you turn 30. And Revive Men's Health have been experts at treating men with low testosterone and ED since 2011. We're the clinic guys come to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their performance. We love what we do and the patients we care for. You can ask our patients. We did, and we have a 99% patient satisfaction rate this year. Our patients even tell us we're more affordable than their insurance deductibles and copays. Let's get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. That's what we do, and we do it really well. Book your T-Check and exam today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send us a private message at revivemenshealth.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, it's a pretty smooth commute now across the Wasatch Front. No accidents reported right now on city streets or major freeways. And if you're on a freeway, you're going at the speed limit from Payson all the way up to Brigham City. No problems coming out of Tooele County or using I-80 through Parley's Canyon. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, along with excellent dining and shopping, await you. Find out more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Smoke from wildfires in Washington and Oregon is moving across Utah. That'll stay here through tomorrow. Sunny today above the smoke with clouds building up. There's a chance for more thunderstorms on Friday. Today's high 87 up to 94 on Thursday. Right now 73 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio. 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Let's head back to Florida. Hurricane Idalia hit landfall this morning. Shall we dip into CNN, guys? Let's go to
this
CNN.
Area, the wind, the rain, that's the major concern. The real fears, though, where Bill Weir is and down along the coast, where the storm surge could just be life-threatening and the threat not over for several hours. Dana?
John, thank you so much. Appreciate that. You, of course, are in the
storm
state capital
surge,
of
Debbie, I
Tallahassee.
was looking at
hoping to hear from
how
the governor.
far it stretches across the coast, and they said 200 miles, which is basically Provo to Cedar City, to give you an idea of how massive that storm surge is covering. And the feet, 5, 8, 10, 12, as high as 16 feet is what we heard just reported.
We have one member of Utah's Task Force 1 in Florida. You spoke to her earlier this morning about she was staging in the Orlando area, waiting for Florida officials to give her the call to, start on the search and rescue efforts there.
Right now, I'm working for the incident support team, and our basic function is to support the teams that are out doing the search and rescue. The hurricane made landfall just a little while ago, so it's going to move to the northeast. So we have teams in place in several different places. We have some teams here. We have some in Pensacola, Atlanta, and then South Carolina.
News Nation, Debbie, is reporting already 2 dead as Idalia rips through Florida. Ryan Bass, one of their reporters at News Nation, says it looks apocalyptic.
News Nation calling the show in the 11 o'clock hour, Dave. They're going to check in with us. And he said it looks apocalyptic. Wow. Kevin Eubank, KSL meteorologist. You've been tracking Hurricane Idalia. What can you tell us?
So Hurricane Idalia came on shore, as you all mentioned, this just before 8 a.m. this morning. It actually had intensified to a Category 4 just before it made landfall, then downgraded to a Category 3 as it came on shore. And as you've heard, we've kind of missed the major towns in the sense of a direct hit. But up in that Big Bend area of Florida, that's where this thing did come on shore. And now it's a Category 1, and it's just lashing Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida, moving north-northeast at 20 miles an hour. So already 6 to 7 inches of rain in several spots, and they're anticipating another 2 to 3 inches of rain today. The good news about this storm, for a hurricane, it's a relative fast mover. So it's moving quickly across Florida, into Georgia, into the Carolinas. And so if there was anything to celebrate, it's the speed of this storm, even though the surge, the damage, the rain is catastrophic. It could have been so much worse had this thing been a slow-moving storm.
What have we learned about the surge?
Well, we've had some spots that have had a surge already. Well, I'll give you a town. Stein-Tahatchee, which it's funny, I love Florida towns, but Stein-Tahatchee, which is in the Big Bend area, they had a 9-foot water rise in literally 2 hours.
What?
So I want you to think about that. 9 feet of water from where they were standing. It was dry 2 hours before. 9-foot rise, 2 hours. So when they tell you evacuate, get out, you cannot withstand that type of a storm surge. Can you imagine your home, one full story, 2 hours dry, and then it's full? And so that's why they're telling people you got to get out. And in some spots, to get a 15, 16-foot storm surge, it's irrecoverable. That's going to lift homes off of foundations. It's going to undermine the supports, the stilts. And, yesterday, Dave, I heard you asking some of the governor or one of the reporters, are there building codes? Are there things? Well,
Yeah.
Yes, you can do some things, but you can't do everything. And there are some storms that are just going to swallow communities, and this is one of those. These are not well-built communities. These are not big-time, concrete masonry homes. These are old-time Florida beach houses. And there's going to be some communities that for years to come will be trying to recover from Idalia.
It's a mess in some areas, Kevin, and I don't want to downplay this what's going on in some of these communities where you're talking about the storm surge and the rainfall that's happening. But I'm looking at a photo from News Nation right now, and there are people literally in like pool rafts in bathing suits walking waist deep through water, and they look like they're going out to swim. And I just can't think of anything more dangerous. I mean, I don't know what the alligator situation is under that water, but this water is just filling up parking lots and city streets, and some people seem to be kind of taking a lighthearted approach to it.
Yeah. And again, those people in Florida, if they're a resilient group of people, don't get me wrong, but there's also, like in every community, there's sometimes just ignorance to the danger that's there. So first off, remember the bacteria that's in the water. This isn't clean water. This has now been mixed with sewage and other issues, as well as the surge of seawater. Then add in electricity. You got power lines that are down. You've got municipalities that perhaps have not shut off power. So you've got the potential for active lines to be energizing pools of water that you don't even realize that's the case. And then never mind the actual wildlife, snakes and others that could be in that water. They've been displaced from where they were. So it's just not a good idea. In fact, some of the very best suggestions and advice have been, number one, evacuate. Number two, if you're in place, just stay in your home. If you're dry, you're safe, don't go out. Don't start looking at damage. Don't start getting the rafts and playing in the water. That's where the problems happen. That's where the deaths happen post-hurricane, is because people are out doing things, surveying damage or whatever, and it's the secondary incidental stuff that happens and takes even more life. So you're exactly right. Be safe. If you're still there, I mean, no one's listening to us, but it's just not the time to be out looking or playing or messing around.
As the hurricane is passing through Florida, what kind of damage is hitting Georgia and the Carolinas?
Oh, man, they're getting hit with almost 100-mile-an-hour winds. It's still a Category 1. So they've got wind gusts or sustained winds of 90 miles an hour and gusts of 115 miles an hour. And this is headed for Savannah. It's likely going to maintain its Category 1 strength into Savannah before it downgrades to the tropical depression and then eventually could potentially regenerate out in the Atlantic. But the truth is they are getting hit with several inches of rain, 100-mile-an-hour winds. You know, we've had 100-mile-an-hour winds here. It topples trees. It takes down power. It lashes houses. It rips off siding. It's damaging. And so Georgia, while not as intense as Florida, Georgia and into the Carolinas are going to have damage with flooding and all sorts of problems here in the next, right now through the next day.
What about, are you watching for tornadoes too out of this?
Oh, yeah. There's 19 active tornado warnings that are in effect right now. They're all over the place. And so these hurricanes spawn off their own tornadoes, and those lead ahead and on the flanks of the hurricane. So, yes, absolutely, tornadoes are an issue and a concern. In areas like, Georgia, Carolinas, tornadoes happen there anyway. But to have this hurricane come through, that's another huge danger going on right now.
Kevin Eubank, thank you for the update, KSL meteorologist. And Debbie, as he was describing, not only these 125-mile-an-hour winds, but you had a tornado into the middle of that, and it truly makes sense, as Ryan Bass of News Nation had described it. He says it looks apocalyptic.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-new station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
3 more days until BYU's Big 12 debut.
He's going to go 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Saturday night, the Cougars sink their claws into the Sam Houston Bearcats. KSL pregame starts Saturday at 6. And then Sunday morning, get a total Big 12 roundup. The all-new First and 12. First and 12. Sunday 10 to noon on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
Warmer weather is here, and Skinny Utah would like to help you shape up for summer by losing 20 pounds in the next 40 days. That's right, 20 pounds in as little as 40 days. That's the Skinny Utah promise. Skinny Utah will customize every plan because no two bodies are alike. Their proven program is 100% natural. There are never any prepackaged meals or shakes to buy, and they never use dangerous drugs or hormones. Skinny Utah will teach you how to eat real food you buy at the store. Take the first step to a healthier new you and schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com. A $300 value, absolutely free. Skinny Utah has offices in Draper, Orem, Centerville, and St. George, and they're extending their couple special, where the second person is half price. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session today at skinnyutah.com. That's skinnyutah.com. At Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can find out how to get one line of unlimited mobile free for a year. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year, free. It's our best internet, powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability, paired with the flexibility to bring your own mobile device for no extra cost. Plus, you can save even more on additional lines for anyone in your business who needs one. And a whole year of savings. Well, that adds up. Business-ready mobile service for free. Every day of every month for a whole year. Don't wait. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends September 21st, 2023. Restrictions apply. Mobile offer requires 100 megabits per second internet package and new unlimited intro mobile service. Other restrictions apply.
Held over due to popular demand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. 4 days only, Friday through Monday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. 4 days only, Friday through Monday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday noon to 8, Saturday 10 to 8, Sunday 10 to 6, Monday 10 to 6. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Join KSL in the movie show this Friday from 9 to noon at the Salt Lake MPS store at 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City. MPSstore.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, looking like a good year for brine shrimp at the Great Salt Lake thanks to a wet spring. Second, UDOT expecting some big traffic delays for travelers this Labor Day weekend. Third, Hurricane Idalia moved quickly across Florida once it made landfall on the Gulf Coast early this morning. And right now, 73 degrees, sunny and hazy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I want to talk about this new center that's in operation in Washington County. It's unique in my view because so often, Dave, we talk about mental health, people going through a mental health crisis, and police have said this over the years. It's like when they've committed a crime, oftentimes they end up having to take them to jail. But the jails aren't well equipped to deal with somebody having, in the throes of a mental health crisis. They're equipped to book people into jail, fingerprint them, let them make the phone call that they need to make to their attorney, and then hold them for however long until the prosecutor presses charges against them. But this facility is very unique, and it's an opportunity for people who are in a mental health crisis to get help right away, who instead of going to jail, go to this facility. We're going to talk more about that.
Yeah, whether it's a jail or a hospital, if there is a mental health crisis, you want somebody that is well prepared, well trained for these specific issues because it requires a deft touch, understanding, and you need to understand the differences of what's going on.
Now, this is in southern Utah. We're not talking about something here along the Wasatch Front. This is in southern Utah. But I think if it works, we should have these all over the state. But let's check in with our new friend at the St. George News, Chris Reed. Welcome back to the show, best bud.
Well, I'm glad to be a best bud, Debbie and Dave. And,
it's twice in a week. It's great it's great to have a connection down in southern Utah. We know there's a lot of great things happening down there that we love to share with our listeners and, policymakers up here along the Wasatch Front. So talk to us first about what this center is and what it will do.
Sure, Debbie, and you actually did describe it pretty well. If you think of your emergency rooms, your urgent care centers, as where you go if you have a physical health emergency, like, I've got a broken leg, I cut myself, whatever. This is kind of the equivalent for mental health. And we're talking about crisis mental health. Obviously, if there's a place for therapists, just like there's a place for medical doctors. But let's say all these times we've heard, and I certainly covered these, where there's a person making a disturbance, no fault of their own. They just have a mental health issue out in the public, or a substance abuse issue. This is a place where people can be brought, and actually it is free of charge, where the way they describe it is, hey, no questions asked. We're going to try to give them help. They have an intake. They can keep people for potentially up to a week or so and get them help.
So what does that help look like? Is it a detox? Is this a treatment facility? What does it look like?
Sure. Well, on substance abuse, there is detox. They will have the capability and the medications to detox. And then for mental health, a lot of the time, these are people who just have never gotten the help they need. And up until now, the procedure has been, when you look at law enforcement, okay, and I'll tell you, I covered something maybe a month ago that, it wasn't the kind of thing that's going to make publication, but it was a woman without clothing on outside of Lowe's locally, and she was causing a disturbance, and all the police could do is, put her into the back of the van and take her to the nearby hospital, to their mental ward, and she's probably out in a day or so with, just no real help. And sometimes it's situations where people are just put in jail. And this is going to be kind of a third option for them. It's really exciting for the law enforcement folks because usually if doing something like that could be at least 5 hours of intake and paperwork, and this is going to turn into like a 15-minute ride, and you're done. And not only that, but they're actually going to get the help they need.
Yeah. Chris Reed is with the St. George News. He did this story, and we caught it online, and so you can check it out at the stgeorgenews.com online if you want to learn more about it. But it's basically a crisis stabilization center where people, police officers, instead of taking somebody to jail who is in a mental health crisis, and you said it well, Chris. It's like an acute, in the moment crisis. This isn't for somebody who is going through, a year of depression and needs therapy. This is for somebody who is out potentially committing a crime, but they're in the throes of, just having a mental breakdown in the moment. And so often police have had to use, for years, I mean, as long as I've been a news reporter in this valley, has had to use jails as a sort of a holding a holding cell for these folks, and they're not getting the true help they need, and in some cases the medication they need. And jails, we know, are overcrowded, and sometimes they're understaffed. And I love this concept. I think we are way overdue as a community for something like this. I once did a story years ago, Chris, and you talked about the woman in front of Lowe's, and it breaks my heart because that, like you said, she's going to just be out, in a couple of hours out of the hospital. But I did a story on a woman, and she had I want to say 80 or 90 offenses in downtown Salt Lake City over the course of a number of years. And they were things from lewdness in public to, urinating on the lawn in the park. And she was going to jail every single time. But what was clear to me is she was not getting the mental help that she needed at the jail, which jails often aren't equipped for. And we needed something like this. So is this one facility in southern Utah, or are they looking at opening more?
Well, that's interesting, and I talked to the governor about this, Governor Cox, because he was at both the groundbreaking and the opening. And it's a long-term plan for this to be throughout the state. In fact, there's one up there in Davis County, which was actually the first. And it's apparently been very successful at least they say, as far as doing a couple things. One, getting people the help they need, and also reducing the amount of paperwork for the officers, reducing the number of the revolving doors that you have in the jail. So it's still viewed as an experiment, certainly down here. I mean, it's going to need to be a lot of buy-in by people on the boots, so to speak, in law enforcement. And I sat in on a meeting of Washington City Police a little bit ago, and they were there actually introducing this concept to them. And I have to say, there were a couple of people who were with a lot of questions, well, how does this change what we do? So I think it's going to take time, and I think there's going to need to be results from this probably, as far as that people who have the boots on the ground, who do all the grunt work, are going to see that this makes a difference.
Chris, I'm trying to envision what this looks like. So say someone is in crisis, they take them to this crisis center. Can they stay there? Is it voluntary? Are they mandated? And I know a lot of times when people are in crisis, they're not necessarily easy to convince. So if there is a need for medication, are these things, how voluntary is it, or how mandatory is it?
Sure, and that's a great question. It is considered. When I actually posed that question to the folks who are going to be running it, and that includes the Southwest Utah Behavioral Center, is just going to do a lot of the work there. And what they tell me is, no, it's considered voluntary. There's no locked door. It's not like you get in there and you're in just another form of jail. It really is just another chance for these people to get treatment, but it is voluntary. They can leave at any time. So it's going to come down to that. I think if police take somebody there and they're out the next day and they're committing, let's say, the same thing, I think there might be a second thought to, just put them back in jail then if they're just going to be walking right out. So, as I said, it is an experimental phase, so we'll see how it works out. But it's basically, if you are, and certainly if you're the family, and I talked to some local politicians who, and we all do. We can all pick out a family member who's had mental crises or substance abuse crisis, perhaps. And, he said this is going to be it's great to have this option.
Yeah.
And goes in there is not going to have an addition to the criminal record. You talked about, Debbie, about the person with 80 jail.
Yeah, a lot
times.
of low level.
That's all on their record.
Yeah, and it was a lot of like lower level offenses. Chris, thank you so much. But what was clear to me was that what the trips to jail were not helping her. This facility it's open 24/7, and it's free of charge. Chris Reed of St. George News, awesome reporting. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, he mentioned that there's a similar program going on in Davis County.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to look into that because I'm unfamiliar with how this works, practically speaking. So I don't know if it's the sheriff's office that is in connection with this or when it is used.
Well, it's been clear to me for a long time we needed an alternative to jail. Sheriffs have been saying that for years. They're the ones who run the jail. They have been screaming for help for those with mental illness. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope that this is the start of a long-term solution.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Police in Orem asking for help from the public in finding 3 missing girls. Officers say 14-year-old Kennedy, 10-year-old Cashley, 12-year-old Kaylee were last seen near 250 East and 16th South in Orem last night. Police believe the 3 were traveling together. More information and photos of the girls are up on the KSL News Radio website. Police are asking anyone who's seen them to give the officers a call. KSLSports.com reporting the Florida Gators approached Utah quarterback Cam Rising after last season to see if he was interested in transferring. AP Sports reporter Mark Long covers the Gators, tells the KSL Sports Zone the team was trying to land a star QB after losing Anthony Richardson to the NFL.
They wanted Sam Hartman. He was atop their list along with a bunch of other schools. They at least kicked the tires on Cam Rising. So they kicked the tires on a bunch of guys, hoping they could get a transfer quarterback.
Florida went with Wisconsin transfer Graham Mertz, who will start when the Gators play the Utes tomorrow night. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Hurricane Idalia brought a huge storm surge to the Florida Gulf Coast as it moved ashore this morning. The bullseye was the island of Cedar Key.
Sorry to interrupt, Dan. Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, is speaking right now, giving us an update on Hurricane Idalia.
All 8 urban search and rescue teams are deployed. Our National Guard has folks in places like Taylor County. They're getting on scene there to do things like clear major pieces of the roads and get debris that has been knocked around. So there's a lot of moving parts there, kind of at ground zero. So we've got a National Guard unit there. General Haas going to talk more about that. Coast Guard is active, including with Rotary Wing assets. Florida Fish and Wildlife has both boats and vehicles en route to the affected areas. And Florida Department of Transportation has been conducting cut and toss operations starting at the southern part of the state as the storm moved through southwest Florida, clearing those roads and then moving all the way up north. And so they are en route to clear all the way up to Taylor County. Right now, Tampa Airport is going to reopen for incoming flights at 4 p.m. By 3 a.m. tomorrow, it will be fully reopened. Gainesville Airport will reopen tonight, and Tallahassee Airport will reopen first thing in the morning. The ports in Tampa and Manatee are currently undergoing assessments, and when those assessments are concluded, they will be able to resume operations, assuming all is well, which we anticipate it will be. There are, as of now, no confirmed fatalities, and those fatalities are things that get confirmed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement through medical examiners. We do not have any confirmed fatalities yet. If you have any questions about how things are unfolding in your area, you can go to floridadisaster.org for updates. The Florida Division of Emergency Management will continue to update that website with all the latest information. We have really good retail in terms of all the counties, I think, other than the Big Bend proper, the Tampa Bay area. Things are good. Leon County is doing well. We're still assessing what is all going on the ground in the places that had the initial impact. And so we're probably going to be, I'm probably going to try to get down to some of those counties today, but we got a lot of people that are going in, offering assistance from the state perspective, helping these counties be able to stabilize the situation. So for more updates on this, I'm going to bring up Kevin Guthrie from the Florida Division of Emergency Management.
All right. Thank you, Governor. So far right now, the biggest impacted area that we have, following up on what the governor said, is seems to be in Perry. Right now, we know we have a couple of businesses that have caught on fire, a few that have roofs knocked off of them, maybe potentially one collapse. We're getting some conflicting information on that. But we do have crews that are there working hand in hand with Taylor County.
Yeah, you were listening to Florida Governor Ron
Rescue.
DeSantis
So,
as he was giving an update on Hurricane Idalia. We'll continue to monitor what is happening, but they expect the airports to open either later on today, largely in Tampa, Tallahassee as well, at least by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, incredible. That it seemed as though, I'm sure if you were there, it didn't feel this way. But it seemed as though that hurricane moved pretty quickly through the top half of Florida. But boy, some of those winds that we were talking about earlier and the damage that was happening, Dave and I watched it happen live in front of our very own eyes on a monitor earlier, where like an entire canopy, a structure that, is over the gas pumps at what you look like a Chevron station. The wind just picked that thing up like it was nothing and toppled it. And then when you look at the next piece of video, it looked like the gas pumps had been damaged. All very, scary stuff. And Kevin Eubank joined us and talked to us about the potential for down power lines in the water and the storm surge in some areas. So I think a lot of the damage remains to be seen.
Yes, and we'll continue to follow this all morning long and throughout the afternoon.
We're going to turn our attention now to a story that we talked about earlier this week. We want to revisit. It's called No Labels. Former Governor John Huntsman Jr. Is he actually considering another presidential run?
He's
is that taking
it's a wink,
too far?
it's a nod. No,
Is it a
he
wink
talked about it. He said he's considering it. Yeah,
he is considering
absolutely.
it. Wow.
Yeah, when No Labels started, when they announced what they were going to do, he was their keynote speaker, and he saw great value in the possibility of a third party.
But he wouldn't be challenging, or would he be challenging Donald Trump for the Republican nomination? No.
Yeah, this is not part of the Republican nomination. This isn't part of the Democrat. He's not. This is a third party, truly a third party ticket called No Labels.
So it's No Labels from what we talked about. It's neither hard left nor hard right, but more in the middle, right?
Yeah, and we had a editorial board meeting with KSL and the Deseret News. We met with No Labels, and they described this as their dream scenario. It said, I could see a Republican and a Democrat walking hand in hand to the White House. One is a president, one is the vice president.
Wow.
Didn't clarify who would be the president, but they want to see this unity, and it's something that it doesn't seem like they want a long-term third party called No Labels, so this would kind of be a one-time deal.
I guess that's why the Governor Huntsman, former governor of Utah, that stood out to me as a little bit of a surprise, because when Ryan Clancy, the chief strategist for No Labels, joined the show earlier this week after you heard him at the editorial board meeting, you asked him, what about Governor Huntsman being their candidate?
We are going to have a wide open process this fall. As you know, Governor Huntsman was at our launch event over the summer, but it is really early. We have not made any decisions about candidates. And again, it may not be ours to make. We're going to have an open and transparent process.
Again, No Labels. They haven't finalized a candidate. Governor Huntsman is a clearly obvious possibility. But they said the only way they'd put forth a candidate is if Republicans and Democrats insist on sending Biden and Trump back for a rematch in 2024.
Jay Evenson in studio with us from the Deseret News. You wrote an opinion piece about No Labels. I read it. It's fascinating. What are your thoughts on this? And when do they swoop in and make a decision on this? What's the timing?
It's not going to be until after Super Tuesday, and they actually have a convention set for early April.
in Dallas. And that's when they're going to choose a candidate. And Dave brings up an interesting point. Are they really a third party? Because they said if they should win, then whoever wins, if they happen to be a Democrat or Republican, they will remain a Democrat or Republican. It's just that they will have won under the no labels ticket. They're not trying for any down race. They're not trying for any congressional seats or anything like that. This is a one-time deal because they think the nation needs it, and because they think, and they have some polling that shows that a lot of people, a vast majority of people, don't want a Biden-Trump rematch, and that a lot of people are open to a third-party candidate. You have to be careful on that. This is August of the year before the election, and it's easy to say to a pollster you want a third-party candidate. When you actually have a person and a name attached to that, then and that person gets attacked by the Republican and Democratic machine, people may change their opinions.
Well, that was a great point, and you actually made that point in the editorial board meeting, saying, sure, everyone loves the moderate, common sense politician, but as soon as you put a name to that quote-unquote moderate, common sense politician, they don't really exist. There isn't that one that everybody can rally around. Otherwise, they would have won already.
Well, and the other thing that person would have to do is start taking positions on matters. So they gave us this booklet called Common Sense, and it has 30 issues that they're interested in, but their positions on those issues are kind of mealy-mouthed, you know. They're starting points for discussions and negotiations. A candidate has to take a position, and as soon as you take a position, then no labels gets labeled, right? The problem solvers become a problem. And people might say, well, I don't really like Trump, but I like his position on this better than I like this person's position. And so it's not clear cut.
Jay, I've got your opinion piece in hand here. And as I was reading through it, they have some hurdles to cross, which I guess the layperson who has never run a campaign such as myself, I didn't realize. They have to be able to petition the states to get on the ballot in each state. And they ran into trouble in Arizona. There
was a lawsuit filed by Democrats. It's interesting. You were mentioning John Huntsman Jr. spoke at this event in New Hampshire, but so did Joe Manchin. And that got the Democrats worked up, and they thought, well, this party is going to take votes away from Biden, and it's going to lead to a Trump victory. And the Democrats in Arizona tried on technical grounds to file a suit saying they hadn't done everything right, they shouldn't be on the ballot. But a judge ruled against them, so they will be. They're on the ballot in, I think, 10 states right now, and so there's 40 more to go.
That's a haul.
It's a high bar. It is, and there are so many things that make it difficult for a third-party candidate to win. If you don't announce your candidate until April, you have a really short time to start raising funds and to start doing advertising. We're kind of policy wonks. We know what no labels is. You can go out in the street and ask 10 people. You're not going to find one who's even heard of them. So they have a lot of work to do.
The names that get brought up are obviously John Huntsman Jr., but Mitt Romney was a name that we brought up to no labels. What did you think about the response to Mitt Romney's name?
Well, Romney has actually been very skeptical of no labels, and he sees them as a spoiler. I think it would be a great name. You know, the other name that came up was Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney, yeah.
That would certainly be interesting. And then you'd see the Republicans getting upset, about it. So there are a lot of names out there, but if you pick a sitting legislator, they have to realize that once they stand up as a candidate under the no labels ticket, they've pretty much ruined themselves for their own party for a long time, unless they happen to win. So it's going to be hard to get a household name type of candidate, I think, unless it's a Liz Cheney or I'm trying to think. There are governors out there, but they're not well known nationally.
And usually the third party candidate's a spoiler. They're not a winner.
Well, they have, yes.
Right?
In the whole history of the country, you've never had really a third party candidate. And you can look at the history. Yes, they have, going back to Theodore Roosevelt, to Bull Moose movement that really elected Woodrow Wilson as president. So, yes.
So when we talk to no labels, and I think I asked them this question. So if it's a former President Trump, current President Biden matchup, it's a guarantee they're going to put a third party, somebody on the ticket. And they said not necessarily. It kind of depends on the mood of the country at the time. But I do think this does tee up a nice conversation with our listeners, Jay Evenson of the Deseret News. Excellent perspective. Really gave me a lot to think about as I was reading through your opinion piece. You can catch it at Deseret.com. Let's ask our listeners, Dave. What do we want to ask our listeners as we continue the conversation about this?
How many times have we asked this? But, like, are we really ready for a third party? Are we ready for a candidate that is not so far left or far right, that there is a common sense center left, center right candidate? Is that somebody you'd vote for? And if so, can you give us a name? Because I think we all love the idea. I don't think anyone would argue with that. Like, I would love to have somebody a little more common sense, but what does that name sound like? And do you think the country could get behind him? 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
What is the biggest threat to your retirement savings today? Believe it or not, it's taxes. That's right. You could be paying a lot more taxes in retirement than you realize. Learn more in a free report. 3 retirement tax traps that could wipe out your savings. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. This free report reveals how you could avoid 3 retirement tax traps that could needlessly cost you tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. To get this free report, call 801-896-9622. Don't needlessly overpay your taxes in retirement. Get this free report now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water, pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9
on KSL.
It's me again, and of course, I'm at the annual Fall Extravaganza at J&J Garden Center in Layton. And what a great time to buy. Right now, all containerized trees, all shrubs, and all perennials are 20% off. You heard me right. J&J's entire inventory of containerized trees, shrubs, and perennials are 20% off their regular price. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price and most definitely the best service too. But don't take my word for it. Come experience J&J Garden Center for yourself. Take advantage of their incredible fall tree, shrub, and perennial extravaganza. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. But right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
We're still tracking that developing story in Florida where Hurricane Idalia hit landfall this morning at about 8 a.m. Florida time at 125 miles an hour, dumping a ton of rain in some areas. And Dave and I have been monitoring a live news conference. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he is still says that the state is still assessing the damage and that 911 call centers are flooded with phone calls from people who are trapped in their homes. He's still talking. He's been talking for quite some time. Let's listen back.
There's some living facilities and nursing homes that did have to do some evacuations, but they did that as a part of the evacuations that we called for 2 days ago. To date, as of this minute, there have been no reports of any issues inside the health and medical industry, whether that's assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities,
one of the emergency managers
nursing
you're hearing
homes,
from now
or
from the state of
hospitals.
Florida.
So everybody is reporting what we would call green, and they're good to go, and everything's all right.
And just as a follow-up, do you know, give or take, how many patients would have had, residents would have had to be transferred?
Yeah. I don't have those numbers right here. We could get with the Agency for Healthcare Administration, Secretary Wida, or even Secretary Latipo and figure out what those numbers actually were.
Can you kind of talk about the discrepancy between some numbers that are being reported on fatalities and citing FHP and you saying that there's no fatalities?
So there's a process for confirmed fatalities that just goes through law enforcement and medical examiners, and then they do that, and so that has not been done yet. Where we've had a confirmation. Now, I know there's unconfirmed reports. Those may end up becoming confirmed. And then, of course, we deal with this in every storm. What is a fatality that is a direct result of the storm versus what would be something where, you have a fatality that's unfortunate, but may not necessarily have a causal factor with the storm. I mean, for example, in Fort Myers Beach, people, there were fatalities because of that storm surge, no question. Well, if you're out the day after the storm and you're picking up debris from your yard and somebody has like a fatal heart episode, does that count as a storm-related death? So they always argue these things backwards and forwards. But when there are confirmed fatalities, those fatalities will be put out by the authorities. But there's just a process that goes through with that. Now, the unconfirmed, I think there have been unconfirmed reports of traffic fatalities. And that may be storm-related. It may be not. Obviously, it was happening within the time that the storm was either approaching or was on target in these various parts of the state of Florida. Okay, we'll have more updates as the day goes on.
The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, addressing the media right now and obviously the public as well through the media about the latest on Hurricane Idalia as it moved across Florida. They're also reporting that search and rescue teams have been deployed. We know that there's a member of Utah's Task Force 1 on the ground in Florida. Dave spoke to Jen Bevan a short time just before the show this morning, and she said she was waiting for her orders. She was in Orlando, and I don't know if she was moving at that point when you talked to her, Dave, but she was waiting for her orders from Florida officials because they're the ones that tell people who come to help from other states what to do.
Because we don't want to put anyone else in harm's way, and so we have the team stage in the areas that we know are going to be hit, and then once the weather passes through, the concerns are obviously, the storm surges that will come through afterwards, and so as soon as the winds get past and the eye of the storm gets through, then we start sending the teams out to do their work.
And right now, the path of Hurricane Idalia has gone primarily through. They expected to finish going through Florida, through Georgia, through South Carolina. In fact, Charleston, South Carolina has only received a couple of inches of rain, but Columbia, South Carolina has gotten 5 to 8 inches of rain, and they expect Idalia to keep peeling off, heading east back out into the Atlantic Ocean.
We're continuing to watch Hurricane Idalia, and we're back in 1 minute.
Are you a business owner with over 25 employees? Are you currently using a PEO for payroll, HR, or benefits? If so, you're spending a lot more money than you need to. My name is Keith with Magellan. PEOs charge $25 to $40 per employee per month, and that's before the hidden markups that go straight into their pocket. Did you know that most PEOs charge you a higher tax rate than they have to? Did you know that most PEOs don't shop your insurance policies to get the best prices? Those two markups alone cost your company thousands each year. The bottom line is PEOs are the most expensive way to manage payroll, HR, and benefits. What if there was a way to handle all of your HR needs for a fraction of the cost? Last month, we did a side-by-side comparison for a company with 60 employees. They saved $80,000 a year without giving up a single service, feature, or benefit. We're Magellan. We provide payroll, HR, and benefits for less, a lot less. Text HCM to 57500 now to get a free comparison to see how much you could save.
Get lost in art during Art in the Park at This Is the Place Heritage Park. Stroll natural beauty with over 80 artists September 8th and 9th. Tickets visit thisistheplace.org.
The Race for the White House. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
We're returning to our conversation and our phone calls from our listeners right now about the idea of a third-party candidate in the race for the White House whose last name isn't Biden, whose last name isn't Trump. Who would that be?
Because it's very easy to love the hypothetical candidate that has no warts. I would love to have the perfect candidate that can delicately balance the common sense with conservative values. Okay, well, who is that?
Right now, a massive amount of people in polling say, yeah, I would definitely like to see a third-party candidate, another option, another choice in the presidential race. And right now, it does look like, if you just look at polls, President Trump could certainly win the GOP primary based on his poll numbers. Go on to the general, and he would be pitted once again against President Biden. Tamara from Draper, would you go for a third-party candidate? And if so, Dave wants to know, who would that be?
Well, two things. One, would I go for one, you mean now against the other two?
Yeah.
Or just in general? Now against the other two? Well, I have another question for you before I answer that. I'm not sure what you mean by moderate left or moderate right. What is your definition of that? Because to me, President Biden is like a centrist. He's not left or right or far or anything to me. But I wouldn't mind seeing, and I'd like to hear what your answer to that is, but I wouldn't mind seeing Governor Whitmer or Susan Rice. I think they're both really qualified and smart women.
Well, we thank you for the call. And Tamara, I think that is part of the problem is what is center left and center right? Nobody quite knows. It is up to the candidate to come in and be able to articulate that. I don't know if I would agree with you on President Biden being a centrist, but again, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder. How do you view it? And that's what has made the no labels run or this possibility so difficult, because the details are crucial.
I want to go back to CNN, Dave. I'm watching a reporter live. I don't know the exact location. Tallahassee, Florida. Look at the uprooted trees. It looks a lot of like what we've seen here in Utah when we have massive windstorms.
For at least a few minutes when it came through here. And again, this is just an illustration here of why navigating some of these streets is dangerous. And it's dangerous for you to try to either get back in your house if you evacuated, or just to navigate around your home, because just walking around, you could step on a power line. It's still very dangerous here, and crews are just coming out to assess all this, Dana.
Hurricane Idalia hitting landfall this morning in Florida. Governor DeSantis has been giving regular updates. You just heard one from him moments ago regarding the damage. They're still assessing right now, and rescue crews out in the community. They've been dispatched to go and help find people, and they're saying that 911 centers are flooded with phone calls from people who have been trapped inside their homes.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. An elementary school in Cottonwood Heights is without air conditioning, has been all week. Canyon School District spokesperson Jeff Haney says the AC unit at Bella Vista Elementary went out and they're waiting on a part to fix it. In the meantime, they've been cooling the school with fans and chiller systems and even a popsicle party. Over $1 million in federal money could be headed to Weber County to repair damage from this spring's intense flooding. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston has that story.
Weber County Emergency Management Coordinator Eli Johnson tells the Standard Examiner he and his team walked the length of the Weber River, and that spring flooding led to a $1.2 million cleanup job across the whole county. That sounds like a lot, but Johnson says the riverbank fared much better than it did in 2011 because officials planned ahead. According to Johnson, Mother Nature cut the county a huge break, since the major rainstorms we've seen this summer didn't happen while spring's record snowpack melted. He says there wouldn't have been any feasible way to prevent massive flood damage had that happened.
The threshold for FEMA funding is $1.2 million, and it looks like Weber County's already met that. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Hurricane Idalia came ashore this morning just after sunrise near the point where Florida's panhandle meets the peninsula. And ABC's Jim Ryan has more from Tampa.
And that one right there snapped in half.
The storm crashed into the Big Bend region with 125-mile-an-hour winds. The first town it came to was Perry, Florida, where Libby Gregg and her family were at home.
Look, there it goes. There it goes.
The 40-foot trees in their yard were no match for Idalia.
No! Oh. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Idalia is quickly losing steam as it moves northeast into Georgia at about 20 miles per hour. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Tampa.
As Idalia moves across Georgia, it's impacting the border area near Valdosta, and preparations for heavy rain happening as far away as Savannah on the Atlantic coast. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, but just by about 65 points. The NASDAQ right now is up about... and again, that's a gain figure, 65 points. The NASDAQ is up now about 85 points. And our KSL weather looks like we're going to see some sunshine, but along with some smoke. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
on KSL News Radio.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Needing a mortgage? Press 1 if you're purchasing a home. Press 2 if this home is a refinance. Press 3 if you need cash back. Your wait time is 20.
Need a great way to begin a home mortgage loan? Pressing buttons hoping that you'll end up with an actual experienced loan officer is not a smart way to start. Often it brings higher rates, higher costs, and long closing times. On the other hand, you can call Loans by Rick and speak directly to Rick, a mortgage lender that has closed thousands of loans since 2002. Rick will pick up your call every time. You only talk to Rick, not option 1, 2, or 3. Closing is fast in 12 to 22 days from submission to clear to close, with low rates and low closing costs. Call Loans by Rick at 801-809-SAVE. That's 801-809-SAVE. Or click loansbyrick.com. Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have had some trouble in traffic in Parley's Canyon. It's either a wreck or stalled vehicle, but we do have two large vehicles, trucks, that are now out of traffic eastbound I-80 near SR-65 East Canyon. And even though one is in the Gore area and one is over to the right shoulder now, it did cause some backups. Those delays have cleared. In the valley, you are good to go on all the freeways and main secondaries. Utah Symphony's Filming Concert Series delivers full feature films on the big screen as the orchestra plays the soundtrack live. Tickets are on sale now at utahsymphony.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Smoke from wildfires in Washington and Oregon has moved across Utah. Then it will stay here through tomorrow. It'll be sunny today with clouds building up tomorrow and a chance for more thunderstorms on Friday. Today's I-87 up to 94 tomorrow. Right now it's 75 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM at KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
It's just so uplifting to have somebody like Boyd Matheson in studio with us in this moment to talk about the power of community, because Dave, you and I have been watching Mother Nature tear apart communities this morning in Florida.
And it is very interesting to me, Debbie, as we're watching Ron DeSantis, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, speak about what the state can do, but ultimately what's going to happen is on the community and local level.
Are we going to take CNN live? Is it CNN we're going to, guys? Okay. Control room's taking CNN live.
Thank you, Abila. It was really nice for you to talk to us, and good luck in getting all of this taken care of. Again, guys, you've got people over here assessing damage in their yard. There's some people down there. It's dangerous just to walk around here. Interestingly enough, Abila and her husband, Kervin, thought that I was the insurance claim adjuster when I first approached them a short time ago, and I'm sorry to disappoint them, but hopefully the adjuster is on their way.
Disappointing that it's a CNN reporter putting a microphone and a camera in their face. But he is standing on it looks like their front yard. It's muddy. Trees are down. 275,000 Floridians without power, and search and rescue efforts have just begun there.
And Boyd, you talk often about the importance of community, and it's very easy to be angry or frustrated with national politics. But when you start looking at what is happening in our own communities, especially when we have some sort of disaster or tragedy, my neighbors, my community comes together. It does not matter what our political thoughts are.
Yeah, that's right. And so often we forget that's actually the answer to all the problems. Is what happens in community. And so we're watching it take place live today in Florida. We watched it happen in Hawaii over the last 2 weeks. We even looked at it even within our own building here with Bonneville raising $500,000 to help those
in the
community.
Right. And that was from donations from the community.
From listeners, from people all over the place.
We were just the conduit.
Yeah.
We were the advertisers for it to make sure we were promoting it. But it was the community giving $5, $10, $25, $100 to pass on to the folks who are desperate in Maui.
That's right. And so when we start talking about how do we solve the political polarization problem, I know you've been talking about third party and no labels, and those can be part of a broader thing in terms of the politics of it all. But the way you actually get rid of the polarization is you come together in community. You do service together. You coach Little League together. Dave, you've seen that. When you're coaching Little League, you don't care if the person voted for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. You don't care. What you care is, are you helping that kid learn how to hit a fastball? And everything changes. And so often we get caught up in the rhetoric and the language of the noisy extremes that we forget that most of America is not in that space. Out of the 330 million people in this country, at any given moment on a day, 225 million of them are not watching cable news and screaming at their radio or their television about their, who their aunt or uncle voted for. It's just not the reality for most people. And so if you go back to community and what we actually do, there was a really interesting study. Megan McArdle from the Washington Post was in town last week, and she actually cited a really interesting study from the 1930s. A professor traveled across the country with an Asian couple. They were from China, and that was a time when a lot of Americans did not treat Chinese very well at all. And so they went across the country. They didn't make any reservations along the way. And they went through, and out of all the restaurants they stopped at, out of all the hotels that they stopped at, all the way across the country, there was exactly one who denied them service. There was only one. So fascinated by it, this researcher got home and went and wrote letters to each of these restaurants and hotels and asked if they would take a Chinese person as a guest. And over 60% of them said they would not. So even when they said they would not, they still did when it came right down to it. So we actually treat each other better in person and in real life and in community than we talk about on social media or anywhere else. And so there's a lot to be hopeful for. And sadly, it takes a crisis. It takes a big natural disaster for us to say, you know what? There aren't very many people on the planet who have as much compassion or who are as ready to come together as the people of this country. And we should remember that.
I wonder how we, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm curious. How do we maintain that days, weeks, years after we all come together? I think of, for example, like 9/11. I mean, that horrific event where so many American lives were lost to terrorists in so many ways united our nation. I was thinking about this yesterday, how much in that moment we loved firefighters. We appreciated police officers and what they were doing. Yeah. How we rallied around the people of New York, and we rallied around the flag.
Yeah.
There were songs that went to number one.
Yeah.
And here we are, 22 years later, and we're bumping each other off the road and shooting it out on the freeway because somebody changed lanes. So how do we maintain that sense of love for our fellow neighbors, for our fellow Americans, and always want to stay in a mode of being helpful?
Yeah, it's a muscle. It's our civil society muscle that we've allowed to atrophy. And so sadly, what we've become very good at in this country is moments. And so 9/11, we have a moment, we all come together. There's a mass shooting, we all come together, we have a moment. But that's not what this country's about. It's about a movement. But we have been convinced by a lot of folks who are out for their own interests, not the best interests of community or country, that we have to be divided about all of these things, that it's a zero-sum game, that there's winners and losers at everything. And Debbie, if you're doing better, that means I'm doing less better, and so that's bad.
Is that jealousy?
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah, it's all of those negative base emotions that every time you open up your email or go to a website, that they're pinging those negative base emotions of anger, fear, frustration, loss, grievance, all of those things. But the reality is where we live is not red and blue. Where we live is not about politics. Where we live is helping a neighbor in need. That's all we have to do every day. And if we re-engage those civil society muscles, we realize how interconnected we are, and then we can take a moment, whether that moment is a fire or a flood or a hurricane or some other disaster, and we can turn it into a movement, and the movement is actually called America. It's what's gotten us to where we are today.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside Sources today from 1 to 3.
Boyd for president. Speaking of president, let's go live to the White House, where the Federal Emergency Management Agency is giving a brief on what's going on in Florida.
The entire Biden-Harris administration, we were prepared and we were ready to support the needs of this storm. As I mentioned, we have actually over 1,500 federal responders that are on the ground in the affected area. This includes over 300 personnel from FEMA, as well as over 500 urban search and rescue personnel ready to support any of the state's requests. As of 7:30 this morning, and I know these numbers are dynamic and fluid, but as of 7:30 this morning, there are nearly 300,000 customer outages for power in Florida, and we do expect those numbers to continue to rise as the storm passes through and goes into Georgia, and we'll see power outage numbers for Georgia, South Carolina, and perhaps North Carolina. Our partners at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are pre-positioned to support power restoration, and they have over 30 generators that are pre-staged. Additionally, the utilities are preparing for storm impacts, including pre-staging crews and equipment outside of the projected storm track. And the state anticipates a total of about 30,000 to 40,000 linemen in Florida to begin to assist in the power restoration efforts. People that are still in the storm's path, however, as you heard from Corrine, they should not venture out into the storm and remain sheltering in place if your local officials are telling you to do so. However, if you are in trouble and you need immediate assistance, please call 911. As you do go out, do not wade in the water. Do not drive through flooded roads and streets. Just remember, turn around, don't drown. Unfortunately, we see so many fatalities after the storm passes. We want to make sure that everybody is taking the right precautions to keep themselves safe. And as always, please continue to listen to your local officials as this storm continues to pass over Georgia currently and into South Carolina. Please check on your friends and your family and your loved ones, especially
That's an
older
update
adults
from the White House. That is the head of FEMA giving an update on Florida, but also warning residents in other states who are going to be next in line if they aren't already from the fury of Hurricane Idalia. The video that we were watching as she was speaking, the typical side-by-side, call it the two box. You have her in one box speaking from the White House, and on the right side, we're watching video out of Florida. And I told Dave, I shouted out at him, I'm like, look at what's going on CNN. The entire back half of a house was ripped off, and you could the chopper video or the drone video, wherever they were shooting that from, was like you could see somebody's bedroom.
Debbie, it was like looking into Barbie's dream house, where there's no walls. You could just look directly into these rooms, and it was completely destroyed. But you could see these beds with the television hanging on the wall, but there is no outside wall.
Nothing. And the roof was gone. And then, oddly enough, the house right next door, I pointed out, I said, look at that. The house next door doesn't look like anything ever even, nothing happened to it. Nothing. I mean, you can't tell for sure that there isn't any wind damage to it, but it was standing. The house that was built on stilts was standing, and the one next door was totally destroyed. And then we saw another house. I mean, what would it be? The wood on the roof was there, but then as though you peeled an orange back, the entire roof had been peeled back and was gone. I mean, it didn't even look like the shingles had all separated. The roof was just like laying on the ground like you would peel an orange and just throw it down the street. Crazy what's happening in Florida. We're back with more live coverage straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Next Tuesday,
There's still time for people to get their ballots turned in.
Republicans make their choice.
It's hard to compare this election to ones of the past.
Reporter Lindsay Aerts will cover every twist and turn in our countdown to the 2nd District primary. It's the race to replace Congressman Chris Stewart. All this week on KSL News Radio.
What's the biggest threat to your retirement savings today? Believe it or not, it's taxes. That's right, you could be paying a lot more taxes in retirement than you realize. Learn more in a free report, 3 retirement tax traps that could wipe out your savings. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. This free report reveals how you could avoid 3 retirement tax traps that could needlessly cost you tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. To get this free report, call 801-896-9622. Don't needlessly overpay your taxes in retirement. Get this free report now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
I'm Bruce Huff, and I'm running for Congress. I spent the last 45 years working with others, building successful businesses, and employing over 1,000 Utahns. Today, Washington, D.C. is broken. More than ever, we need an innovator who can create solutions and fight the entrenched administrative state. I'm a full-time conservative. I'm the only candidate in the race that voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I'll fight to balance the budget, secure the border, and protect parental rights. I'm pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. I'll do everything possible to move power away from D.C. back to the states. I'll fight to give states more control by pushing for unrestricted block grants that could put an additional $30,000 into every K-12 classroom in Utah. I'll protect the most vulnerable in society by creating tougher penalties for child sex traffickers. I'll take Utah's values of faith, self-reliance, and hard work to Washington. I'm Bruce Huff, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Paid for by friends of Bruce Huff.
Are you finally ready to lose weight for life? Imagine the new you and feeling good in your body without the discomfort and even pain from the excess weight. Get your consultation today at Revive Men's Health here in Salt Lake City to assess your health and discuss if their safe and effective weight loss treatment with semaglutide or tirzepatide are a good fit for you. They offer treatments for anyone who may need support in their weight loss goals or who may benefit from prescription weight loss support with pricing up to 60% less than the name brand medications. They also offer comprehensive DNA-based testing to help you understand your metabolism to make sustained weight loss, better performance, and fitness a reality. Join our satisfied patients who are maintaining substantial weight loss. Call Revive today and book your consultation. Men, women, and couples are all welcome at Revive. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Introducing Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Call Yes today and we'll waive the service call fee with any HVAC, plumbing, or electrical system repair. The expert technicians at Yes are available 7 days a week to fix all of your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical problems. Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Proudly serving Utah for more than 45 years. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. That's 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
Join Mitch Harper Friday at Macy's in Pleasant Grove, 931 West State Street from 4 to 7. You're going to get fun prizes, chance to win tickets to the BYU Sam Houston football game, or a Macy's gift card.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Weber County getting $1 million from the federal government to clean up flood damage along the Weber River. Second, a lawsuit seeking a big share of Tony Finau's professional golf winnings got some new life in the Utah Court of Appeals. And third, Hurricane Idalia moved quickly across northern Florida after it made landfall early this morning. Now it's dropping heavy rain in Georgia. 75 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
As a state, we have been at mail-in voting for quite some time. I think we've done an excellent job of setting the tone for other states across the nation, where you get your ballot in the mail. You can sit at your kitchen table, look over the issues, look over the different candidates, and really give it some good thought. But now there's a Utah lawmaker who, in my view, wants to complicate it. She wants us to opt in to be able to vote by mail.
Number one, mail-in voting has ruined me for all other kind of voting. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I would be a huge opt-in. But why why not just keep it the way it is? What's the problem?
Well, and my other question, hi guys, Lindsay Arts here from KSL News
Go
Radio.
ahead,
Let me just jump into your show and
Please
take
do.
over the conversation.
I love it when you do.
My question would be why not have people opt out instead of opting in?
Oh,
right?
like if you don't like getting
Yeah.
the convenience
If you're
of getting a ballot in your mailbox.
If you're going to vote by person anyways, save the county some postage and opt out of voting by mail instead of requiring everyone to opt in.
Okay, one of the things I immediately just jumped to, I think, okay, why would I want to opt in? I do like the idea of you having to do a little work.
Yeah.
I do like if you're going to participate in elections, do a little bit. And if it's like, hey, I'd like to opt in, yes, please send me something. I can see value in that.
So this is just a proposal. And let's start with this. What is Representative Akira Birkeland's claim on this issue that she feels she needs to have a proposal for us to opt in?
Okay, well, she is running this bill again. She introduced it late last session, but it didn't do anything because it was so late in the session. So she's reintroducing this bill again, and it would require you to either go to the state's vote.utah.gov, check a box, update your voter registration, or whenever you register to vote, you would have to check this box. And the devil's in the details here because there's got to be an implementation date, right? County clerks have to readjust everything. I'm assuming it would also make us all who don't do anything right now to, if we're an active registered voter, get a ballot, we would have to go and make sure we opt in for the next election whenever
So when
this
we
is
go to a
implemented.
website and we would opt in to getting a ballot by mail, and so all the registered voters across the state of Utah would have to make sure this kind of reminds me just a little bit, so bear with me here while I make this comparison. When I go to the driver license division and they ask on the application, do you want to be an organ donor? I have to opt in to being an organ donor. So in this case, this if this bill passes, if it gets any traction at all on the Hill, we don't know if it will or not, I would have to go to this website and opt in for a mail-in ballot.
Yes, correct.
It sounds like an extra step that it's been
Debbie,
working fine right now for me.
Well, I don't know. You made a great case against the opt-out or opt-in. How would people feel?
Well, in one case, I'm dead.
Well, yeah, but if you're an organ donor, can you just assume, hey, I'm going to make a law that just forces everyone to be an organ donor unless you opt out of it. So
that's kind of the position that Kara Birkeland is taking, right? Where she says, I didn't say that I want to vote by mail, but yet I automatically just am quote unquote forced to vote by mail, which she doesn't have to. You can take your mail-in ballot and vote in person, but that's where she's arguing it might save the counties some money. And in fact, when I talked to her yesterday, she kind of listed all these reasons why she believes that we should have an opt-in to vote by mail, and this is what she said.
Oh, let me find it. Sorry, I'm sitting over here just thinking. Let's
listen.
Here you go. No, I'm just thinking. No, I'm just like I was like, what would this do for voting? Okay, let's listen to Kara Birkeland.
It basically interviewing and talking to the constituents from District 4. What was one of their biggest concerns? One of the highest concerns was election integrity. There were a lot of different ideas that came from election integrity discussions on what we should and shouldn't be doing in Utah. And the one that I thought was the most simple and logical was this idea of these mail-in ballots. A lot of people get ballots by mail who don't use them. They go into the voting locations. That's how they prefer to vote, especially those who are, older. If you look at the demographics of those that are, 60 and older, they always showed up on voting day to vote. They want to continue to do that. And so my bill just suggests and proposes that we change it to where if someone wants to receive their ballot by mail, they'll check a box when they register or go online or whenever, like starting, in 2025 going forward. It will no longer be an automatic, you're just going to get a ballot. It'll be, you want that ballot that way. That way we can save the counties a lot of postage in sending ballots to people who are still going to show up and vote in person on Election Day.
I would say my reaction to that, Deb, as I was listening, I thought the financial component to me is the weakest of the arguments.
Yeah, because those costs are going to get swallowed up by more people having to vote in person, which means more machines, more of the machines, right, which are super
you have
expensive.
To have poll workers, too.
You got to have poll workers. You got to have the people to staff, etc.
But I think some of the fear, and we experienced this through COVID, where it was discouraged to vote in person in some ways. It was, hey, we're just going to vote because we have to keep our distance. And there almost is this ease of, okay, well, why wouldn't we just move completely to online voting or mail-in voting versus continuing to pay for the money to have these polls that were open and in person? So I can see a little bit of the threat of saying in-person voting could go away.
Let me throw a few numbers at you just to kind of paint a broader picture. In Utah, in the midterms of 2022, the most recent election we had, 93.5% of people voted by mail. So Representative Birkeland is sort of making the argument that there are a lot of people who get their ballots and either vote in person or they don't necessarily want to vote by mail. Well, the data doesn't really parse that out because only about 7% of people in Utah, the entire state, did that, right? So the in-person voting numbers are very low in Utah. The other number that's really low in Utah is the county clerk's undeliverable rates, and those are basically when they mail ballots, the ballots that get sent back to them. Because either the address is wrong, the people don't live in the address they're sending it to, right? Yeah. So this is one way they check on how clean the voter rolls are. And in Davis County, their undeliverable rates are under 2%. Same in Weber County, 1.8 and 1.2% respectively.
So super low.
Super low.
Well, 2% is still thousands of people. I mean, when we're talking...
So what, are you trying to save money on postage? Is that the deal?
No, I'm just saying if we're sending thousands of ballots to people that don't live there any longer, sure, 2% does not sound like a lot until you start talking about 3.3 million people in Utah.
Not
everybody's a registered voter in Utah.
1.6 active registered
1.6 million is still thousands of undelivered.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Linz.
You're welcome.
Are you going to continue to track that one,
you
right?
You bet, of course.
Okay. Thank you so much, Linz. As always, great reporting.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Several members of Utah's Red Cross are in Florida, ready to help those affected by the hurricane. Red Cross Greater Salt Lake Area Executive Director Jeremiah LaFreca says they've already had 3 members there, but they could send more now that the storm has passed.
The ones that go out initially are more experienced volunteers. They're ready to set up the shelters, they're ready to manage. They know what they're doing in terms of the prep work. And then we start to send in volunteers that maybe have less experience, so that way they can provide that support level.
And LaFranca tells KSL TV they'll be working to prepare shelters with cots and food and other supplies, and local officials could also enlist their help for anything else they might need. Utah native pro golfer Tony Finau still fighting multiple lawsuits in court, some that seek to get 20% of the fortune that he's made playing professional golf. The Deseret News reports the Utah Court of Appeals just heard arguments in a suit that was dismissed back in 2021. Another lawsuit claims the plaintiff financially backed Finau and his brother when they were teenagers. According to PGA data, Finau has earned about $37 million in golf tournaments in his career, likely much more, though, with endorsements. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We've heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis about the impact of Hurricane Idalia in his state. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is also addressing the emergency there. The storm moved into Georgia this morning.
We had multiple counties in the affected area that are seeing winds in the 70 to 80 mile per hour and some gust up to 90.
State officials estimate 61,000 customers have lost electric service in Georgia. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 57 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ is up 87 at this hour. And our KSL weather looks like we've got smoke in the air from wildfires. We'll have more on that just ahead. KSL News Time, 11:33.
This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm going to tell you, I love ceiling fans. I love them. Every time I go into a room and there's a ceiling fan, I feel like it's a personal gift to me, Deb. I do not have enough ceiling fans in my house, though.
Have you called Master Electrical to install your ceiling fans?
No, because I'm scared. I'm scared that they're going to come in and I'm going to see one price and get another.
Nope, not with them. You and I sat down with them, and we know the drill there, and I love what they're doing with this upfront pricing. They come into your home, they give you the bid, and there are no surprises in the end. It doesn't matter how long it takes them to install ceiling fans in every single one of your rooms.
I can trust. They're going to say, hey, this is how much it's going to cost to get a ceiling fan installed.
What you see is what you get.
And that invoice, there's no surprises. They have an upfront pricing guarantee, and it's not just for ceiling fans. It's for all the electrical work.
Yeah, you probably need some new lights in your home, too. I mean, you're
built in 1976.
Yeah, you might need a new EV charger station in your garage soon as well, if I can get you to get rid of that smart car and get an electric vehicle. Master Electrical, they are your go-to for upfront pricing.
Yeah, they serve from Logan to Santa Quin, always open. Emergency services, they're there for you. 866-569-0860, 866-569-0860.
Or you can always catch them online anytime, day or night. MasterElectrical.com.
It's me again. And of course, I'm at the annual fall extravaganza at J&J Garden Center in Layton. And what a great time to buy. Right now, all containerized trees, all shrubs, and all perennials are 20% off. You heard me right. J&J's entire inventory of containerized trees, shrubs, and perennials are 20% off their regular price. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price and most definitely the best service too. But don't take my word for it. Come experience J&J Garden Center for yourself. Take advantage of their incredible fall tree, shrub, and perennial extravaganza. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
Held over due to popular demand. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. 4 days only, Friday through Monday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. 4 days only, Friday through Monday. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday noon to 8, Saturday 10 to 8, Sunday 10 to 6, Monday 10 to 6. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Give your savings a boost with 5% APY on a 12-month certificate from Cyprus Credit Union. Learn more at cypruscu.com.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio is your window to the outside world, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio, Utah's all-day companion for news.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have a crash eastbound I-80 near 2300 East on the right shoulder. Scanners calling out an accident in Draper, 114 South 300 East, and a KSL traffic trooper reporting lights malfunctioning 1300 West 900 South. Don't let tax problems ruin your life. Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox handle the IRS so you don't have to. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Smoke from wildfires in Washington and Oregon has moved across Utah. That'll stay here through tomorrow. Sunny today with clouds building up tomorrow and a chance for more thunderstorms on Friday. Right now, 79 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
We are watching video right now. Dave, what are you seeing there from Florida?
It looks like, is it Steinhatchee?
Yeah.
It's a live view of their community. And Debbie, it is completely covered in water. I mean, at least the ground is all water.
Okay, so CNN's reporting that Steinhatchee, the river there, rose 9 feet in 2 hours and broke like all records. Can we take CNN live, guys? Can we take them live? See, we're looking at video, but I want to see what they're saying.
We do continue to follow the latest on Hurricane Idalia. CNN crews witnessing rescues in a city just north of Tampa, and we're going to take you there.
And we're waiting as well on remarks from President Biden. He'll be talking about the storm. Stay with CNN's special live coverage of Hurricane
So they're
Idalia.
going to commercial break. We are as well waiting on remarks from President Biden, but he might be on Biden Standard Time. We're expecting them to happen within our show, I believe, but we're closing in on the end of the show here, so who knows? What is that? Are they rescuing a bird? Is that a bird?
I have no idea.
There's some rescue crews carrying out a cage. It looked like there was like a parrot inside that cage. They'll stop at nothing to save every living creature there in Florida, it seems.
Yeah, you're going to have to, because I'm sure there's alligators everywhere right now. With this storm surge raising 9 feet or flooding 9 feet worth in these communities, and you said in 2 hours. Can you imagine a foot of water every 15 minutes? That is how much is coming in and stacking up. I mean, that would cover us completely in this studio in under 2 hours.
It's frightening to think about how quickly that's started. And we're going to get more information throughout the day on what's going on there from KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank. The idea that the storm surge will be the leading, likely, if history bears out now, leading cause of death. And the need for rescues because of the water that comes in. They said up to 9 to 12 feet in some areas that they were predicting would happen. I'm going to take News Nation live. They are also in Florida. Do we know where? Caitlin, do we know where they're live?
Hazard to ensure the public safety for the residents and visitors of Hillsborough County.
There you go.
Ahead in about 20 minutes or about a half hour to an hour. And that's the full high tide of some of our rivers cresting as a result.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I know you'll be tracking that. And we know the flood watch still in place until tomorrow morning. And also of note, Hillsborough County, home to the University of South Florida. We know there are 47,000 students. The campus is closed. I do want to ask at this time, do you have any estimate on the extent of the storm surge in Tampa? How high has it gotten in certain areas?
The storm surge hasn't gone anywhere past, as far as what we were learning from our teams that are out doing the rapid assessments, past those level A areas that we ordered the evacuation from. These are traditional areas of the Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay region that we see flooding in. Not so maybe to this extent, but they're very low-lying areas that are close to Old Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay proper. As you've seen some imagery from Bay Shore, that's an example, up into Old Tampa Bay into a part of town called Town and Country. These were areas that we already know. So we targeted them first when we initiated our needs assessments and our technical search and rescue team deployment.
Yeah, and we just saw our Ryan Bass live in Tampa a short time ago, and there is definitely that visible storm surge where he is. But, the air seems calm, and you see people behind him in his live shot who are coming out in board shorts. They have their phones out. They're taking video. They're laughing. What is your message to them at this time?
Stay out of that water. You don't know what's below that water, what's in that water, and not to mention it's probably not the cleanest water. So, we're not sure. There's not electrical lines down, sharp objects, and just not clean water. So it's not the time for exploring that right now.
That's live coverage out of Florida. We've taken CNN Live. We've taken that was News Nation. We've been dipping in and out of the local stations in Florida throughout the morning. There had been some predictions, and we don't know the full extent of the damage yet. We just don't know, and we won't probably for several hours. There were some predictions that the entire communities along the coastline could just vanish.
With the drama and with the storm surge, if you're talking about a 16-foot storm surge, you could have some small towns, some coastal regions that are gone. Right now, we're seeing 8 search and rescue teams, many of them from Miami and also from around the country. They're staging in Orlando, and they haven't even begun to work yet. The wind is
They just started search and rescue efforts just a little bit ago, Dave.
Yeah, and officially, according to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, there are no deaths, but again, there's a process. The medical examiner has to be a part of that, so we won't know any of the official death totals, if there are any, until much later.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before Dave and Debbie get started each day, this station is all news all morning.
And later today, we follow up on those stories as you drive home.
Get important news all morning and all afternoon.
Here on KSL News Radio.
As the weather turns colder, this is when you need to get those new windows. So call Advanced Window Products. They'll replace your single-pane, rickety old windows with stylish, state-of-the-art double-pane windows with precision frames. You pick the style and color. They're custom-made right here in Salt Lake City. This company is so Utah. It's run by 2 guys who grew up here, Jake Weber and Utes defensive star Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sacktown with 7 NFL seasons under his belt. Great guys, great company building high-quality windows for 37 years. Unlike other companies, they build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. No middleman. There's Jake, Nate, and their team, and there's you, saving on the highest quality windows. Right now, before winter, get $2,000 off 10 windows or more, and they offer 60 months 0% financing. So call Advanced Window Products now. You could have stylish new windows in 8 weeks. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
What is the biggest threat to your retirement savings today? Believe it or not, it's taxes. That's right. You could be paying a lot more taxes in retirement than you realize. Learn more in a free report. 3 retirement tax traps that could wipe out your savings. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions, a 5-time winner of Utah's Best of State Award. This free report reveals how you could avoid 3 retirement tax traps that could needlessly cost you tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. To get this free report, call 801-896-9622. Don't needlessly overpay your taxes in retirement. Get this free report now by calling 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. In 2017, Evolved MD launched as a solution for the lack of access to mental health care. Today, it is one of the most comprehensive integrators of physical and behavioral health in the United States. Vice President of Strategy and Chief of Staff, Centauri Minor, tells us more.
According to Mental Health America, Utah ranks 46th in the nation for mental health, with Utah adults having higher rates of mental illness and lower rates of access to care compared to the rest of the country. The truth is, the people of Utah are struggling, and at Evolved MD, we are proud to offer a proven solution. EvolvedMD's mission is simple: to integrate physical and behavioral health to reduce stigma and increase access to sometimes life-saving services. We partner with some of Utah's most renowned primary care groups and health systems to place licensed therapists and counselors at practices who collaborate with primary care providers for whole patient care. With our model, you can receive therapy right where you go get a checkup, to amazing results. Right now, we are expanding and rapidly hiring in Utah. We are looking for master's level behavioral health clinicians to join our team. You can learn more about our celebrated culture and our impact at evolvedmd.com.
EvolvedMD is driving the innovative integration of behavioral health services in modern primary care. To date, they have served tens of thousands of patients and increased access to care to nearly 1 million across the Southwest. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Red Cross staff from Utah has gone to Florida to help with recovery efforts after Hurricane Idalia. Second, the Utah Court of Appeals heard arguments in a lawsuit against pro golfer Tony Finau that had been dismissed months ago. And third, Georgia feeling the impact of Hurricane Idalia now after the storm passed through Florida. Right now, 79 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
We're going to get with KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank. Dave and I have been keeping an eye on the live video feeds out of Florida, where Hurricane Idalia hit landfall at 8 o'clock Florida time this morning. The video has just been crazy to watch. Kevin's been keeping an eye on the computer model, so.
Yeah, and we can see it kind of depends on where the biggest part of the storm has crossed over, because some places people are in T-shirts and board shorts hanging out like it's no big deal. Other video live feeds that we're seeing, you can't even see. It is completely covered with rain and wind, and all you're seeing is shadows. It's so dark.
Some of the most incredible video that we've seen is, the reporters out in it trying to stand up straight. We watched the rooftop, or you called it a canopy. I think that's a good explanation of it, at a gas station, where the gas pumps are underneath it. Who hasn't pulled into one of those things? That thing was toast. It was
a parachute.
And then there was the Barbie Dream House moment, as you described it, where we were literally helicoptering, at least video. We were seeing video of a helicopter or a drone over a house. And part of the roof was missing, and you can see like the different bedrooms. You can see somebody's bed and TV. Of course, you saw the TV. I didn't see the TV. You saw the TV.
Barely hanging on.
He's looking for the remote, Kev. He's looking for the remote. What we don't know yet is the ultimate, if there will be a death toll from this.
Oh, there definitely will be a death toll from this. This is, again, what happens is a lot of times with these storm surges, you get older people, you get people who aren't necessarily connected to technology, you get people who don't have the capacity to get out and get evacuated. And those are the people that we find after the fact that were just never able to get out. And so, again, as tragic as that is, this type of storm, a Category 3 in a very area that has never seen this size of storm come through in the past, there's absolutely going to be fatalities.
Kevin, can you remind our listeners what a storm surge is and how it occurs?
Yeah, so as hurricanes come on shore, they're drawing water in. And so before that hurricane makes landfall, you actually see a reduction in the ocean water. It gets pulled out to sea. Then as that hurricane comes onshore, it brings back all of that water, plus the surge from the waves that have been generated out in this enormous hurricane out in the ocean. And that then propels a storm surge or a wall of water back onshore. And so that storm surge in this case, the peak will likely be anywhere between, in some spots, 12 to 15 feet. We've already had reports and confirmation of an 11-foot storm surge. And what that is that's an 11-foot wall of water coming into your community. Imagine what that would do to your home or to your business or to the walkways or to the sidewalks or the beach infrastructure. And then that wall of water goes inland. And it doesn't go inland a couple of blocks. That wall of water goes and dissipates, and it can go for a half a mile, a mile and a half inland, and it's devastating. So if you're against the beach and that comes, it's almost unsurvivable. If you're inland, yes, you can survive it, but oh my goodness, the damage that goes along with that is tremendous.
How quickly does the water recede on that storm surge?
So it all depends on the storm and the duration of the storm. And I talked earlier in your broadcast, this has been good because this storm is moving at 20 to 25 miles an hour. It's a fast-moving storm for a hurricane. So it has not lasted as long as some other hurricanes. And that's a good thing. That means the waters will recede a little faster. But, Dave, we're talking days before the water fully recedes in some areas. And in other places, it won't, depending on the infrastructure, the levees, the canals, the bays. It all depends on what infrastructure is there and if there's a place for that water to go and a place for high ground to be reestablished and dry ground.
KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank helping us right now understand the impact of Hurricane Idalia on Florida. It's moved through Florida, and people in Georgia and other states bracing now for the impact there from the winds, the tornadoes. You said earlier there were 19 tornado warnings at the moment that we spoke earlier, Kev, which is it take. And then the wind. I mean, is there anything in Utah that we've seen? I think about some of the winds in Davis County. I've covered, we've all covered these stories. I've covered the ones in Utah County years ago. Do we get winds at that speed, at hurricane speed here?
Oh, we definitely do. So right now we're dealing with a Category 1, which is 90-mile-an-hour winds and gusts to 115. And we've had gusts in our valleys of 115 to 120 miles per hour. So we definitely have a replicatable wind reference, but we've never had that wind with 3 inches to 6 inches of rain at the same time. And so it's not only the worst wind you can ever remember here along the Wasatch Front, blowing everything around, and then add in copious amounts of rain that when you're out in that wind, it stings your face. I mean, it's dangerous to be in that kind of a scenario. So, yes, we can replicate the wind here, but definitely not the storm surge, the water, and the combination of it all.
I was thinking about that enormous rainstorm that we had just a few weeks back. How many inches did we receive during that storm? And then can you compare that to what we're seeing in Florida, inches-wise?
Sure. Yeah, this summer we've had a couple of 1 to 2 inch storms in the valley. Some of the mountains had 3 to 4 inch storms. So the water total that's come out of this hurricane right now is anywhere from 4 to 5 inches, and we anticipate another 2 to 3 coming. So it's double or triple the most we've ever seen here in a day, and they're getting that, boom, out of a single 24-hour period. So remember, hurricane came on shore this morning, and they had rain bands overnight. But in the 24 to 36-hour period, they're going to get that 7 to 8 inches of rain in some spots, along with the wind, along with the tornadoes, along with the storm surge. So it's just one piece after another, and those build some pretty disastrous layers when it comes to impact on the people, the community, and the infrastructure in Florida.
What are you eyeballing over the next 6 to 8 hours, Kev?
So the impacts onto Georgia and into the Carolinas. So this will likely maintain, it has maintained its hurricane strength for now. It will likely lose its strength, be below hurricane status as it gets into the lower Carolinas, and then it will get back out into the Atlantic and go offshore. But what we're watching right now is now you've got all the issues in Florida, and the storm will actually linger there for another 6 to 8 hours. Then it will start to diminish as all the rain bands and all of that storm moves towards the Atlantic. And they'll start to get out and assess. Tampa has already announced that they're going to quickly evaluate today, maybe they've already done that, the airport situation and figure out if they're able to resume flights. They had flooding at the airport, but they didn't have tarmac impact at the airport, which is a huge blessing because if they can get flights back open and resuming, that means they can get supplies, they can get people, they can get things happening to get people into where they need to be and out of where they don't want to be. So that's a big step that will be coming here in the next 6 to 8 hours.
Kevin Eubank, thank you again for joining us. An incredible sight down in Florida. The storm surge has been really the story, along with 125-mile-an-hour winds, 5 to 8 inches of rain coming down, as well as a storm surge that has reached as high as 11 to maybe 15 feet.
I couldn't do it. I have a daughter who lives in Miami.
How's she doing?
She's doing fine. It didn't hit Miami.
Didn't hit Miami.
Yeah, it didn't hit Miami. But every time I hear of hurricane warning in Florida, I always say, "Are you prepared?" She's like, "I got my water."
Is she anywhere near the coast?
Yeah, I mean she's pretty close to some of the beaches there, but
I didn't realize the storm surge until we talked to Kevin.
Goes
could
that
come
far
a
in.
mile and a half in.
Yeah. Yeah. So President Biden speaking. Jeff Kaplan will have more on what he has to say. I want to remind you of our BYU preseason special next with Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. They're going to look forward to BYU's first season in the Big 12. It is a 1-hour special that starts in seconds. Are we good?
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that